Hey truckers, today we're seeing part 10 of Crazy Detective. Let's dive into the video. That half piece of the pointer stabbed right into the person's shoulder, forcing out wails of incredible pain and anguish. Zhao Yu held the pointer fiercely and commanded the person right in front of him around, like he was driving. The pyramid scammers obviously were not fighters. Seeing such a terrifying scene, their faces distorted in fear, and everyone took many steps backwards, giving some space to Zhao Yu. "Lan Bo, Lu. Come here!" Zhao Yu called, but the blood flowing from his forehead got in his eye and blurred his vision. How were his two companions doing? At this time, Zhao Yu suddenly heard something behind him, and in a rush, he pulled out the pointer harshly from the person's shoulder, then stabbed behind him as fast as he could. As it turned out, there was indeed someone behind him who wanted to ambush Zhao Yu and help their injured companion, but he had never expected Zhao Yu to move so quickly. In the end, with Zhao Yu's stab, the bloody pointer immediately went into his lower abdomen. Ah! All the pyramid scammers could not help but yelp in fear. Their faces once again lost all color. The ambusher was also shocked. In his shock, he moved his hand forward, wanting to pull out the pointer, but Zhao Yu immediately followed with a kick, leaving him on the ground. Zhao Yu also pulled out the pointer and held it in his hand. The ambusher shivered in pain. Using his fingers, he pressed against his stomach. Blood was already seeping through. Zhao Yu took this opportunity and immediately wiped away some of the blood blocking his vision. Yet, just as he managed to see clearly, he suddenly saw someone holding another pointer 2 meters from him, intending to fight. The person was also stunned. He originally wanted to assault Zhao Yu when he had the chance, but hearing his friend's painful wail, he hesitated, not sure if he should attack or not. Zhao Yu did not care about this man's hesitation, and rushed forward with the bloody half-pointer in his hand. The person was immediately scared stiff, and almost collapsed on the ground in fear. By the time he had wanted to move, Zhao Yu was already in front of him, almost devil-like. Then, with a stab, the half-piece of the pointer immediately pierced his thigh. The Zhao Yu now was even more ruthless than before. After he stabbed the man, he did not wait for the other's wail, but immediately pulled the pointer out again, and immediately stabbed him 4 or 5 times more. The person's thigh was poked full of bloody holes. "Ow, ow, mom, sob." The person was poked until he could not even wail anymore, and began to call out for his mother, his tears and snot mixed together. Seeing Zhao Yu's demon-like ruthlessness, the other pyramid scammers were immediately intimidated and fell backward, not daring to move forward. Some of the more cowardly ones even crouched behind the bed, trying to hide. Zhao Yu raised his head and saw a few people surrounding Lan Bo and Lu, beating on them endlessly. The two could only hold their heads, completely unable to fight back. Originally, Zhao Yu wanted to quickly chase after Ho Meng, but seeing Lan Bo and the other in danger, he could only come back. The group of people were too focused on beating Lan Bo and Lu, so they did not notice when Zhao Yu approached them. Zhao Yu moved silently but efficiently. Once he was close to someone, he immediately stabbed the pointer right into the back of their thigh. Ah! The person hopped up in pain. Zhao Yu immediately rammed the guy with his elbow, sending him flying. Then, Zhao Yu immediately aimed at another person's back and stabbed down. Even though the pointer was no longer sharp, under Zhao Yu's furious assault, the person's back was still bloody all over. The person wailed endlessly in pain. Discover W stories on no/e/lbin.com. Seeing that the pointer was no longer effective as a stabbing tool, Zhao Yu simply turned the object around and used the blunt side of the pointer to smash everybody's face and head. After a few moments of chaos, a few more people wailed as they joined their companions in the pool of blood at their feet. Zhao Yu pulled on the pyramid scammer that was still kicking at Lan Bo, and stabbed him in his face with the blunt end of the pointer. The person was immediately knocked out. Zhao Yu immediately followed up with a shoulder slam, and the person flew like a cannonball, knocking down a few of his companions. There was still a bold scammer focused entirely on kicking Lu, who was already on the ground. Zhao Yu threw the pointer at his face, and with a loud sound, the pointer hit its mark, splashing blood on their face. Ah! In the moment the guy hesitated. Zhao Yu came with a flying kick, sending him flying through the air. His back slammed on the metal bed frame with a bang. By the time he fell to the ground face up, he could only roll around and wail in pain. The group finally recognized Zhao Yu's ruthlessness, and the smart ones had already run off. But there was one unfortunately dumb one. In a rush of movement, he somehow ran face first into Zhao Yu. Ah! The person was stunned by the blood flowing all over Zhao Yu's face, and ended up standing up straight in front of Zhao Yu. But Zhao Yu did not move, and only opened his mouth and roared, "Boo!" In the end, the person turned and tried to run away in fear, but forgot there was a huge door right behind him. His face slammed right into the door with a loud bang, and he fainted right there. Lan Bo's face was bruised and battered as he crawled up. His clothing was covered in footprints, but seeing Lu, who was even worse off than he was, Lan Bo immediately stumbled over to try and help. Yet, just as the two got up, the door of the storage unit suddenly opened, and an investigator who had left with Zhang Yaohui previously immediately rushed inside. This person was named Ma Wei. As soon as he entered the storage unit, he was stunned by the bloody scene in front of him. How did this happen? After his shock, he finally saw Zhao Yu and the others, and immediately moved forward. Are you guys okay? Yao Wei was afraid something happened to you guys and sent me over. Who are these people? Cut the useless chatter. Zhao Yu grabbed Ma Wei's collar and yelled, "Where's Hou Meng? Did you see him? He went to the north." Ma Wei was stunned by Zhao Yu's face, which was covered in blood. He stuttered as he spoke, "We saw him. We saw him. Yao Hui is chasing him." But, you guys, he pointed to all the people collapsed on the ground wailing in pain. The scene was complete chaos. Zhao Yu immediately threw him to the side and rushed out of the storage room. But due to the heavy beating he had received, Zhao Yu staggered as he walked, even running into the door with his shoulder. Just as Zhao Yu managed to get out of the door, he suddenly saw a bunch of bikes outside. He did not even think as he grabbed one that still had air in the tires, planning on chasing Hou Meng with the bicycle. Unexpectedly, the bicycle was still locked, with a metal chain jingling on the back wheel. Zhao Yu did not notice. When he got on the bicycle, he only managed to get a few steps before the wheel of the bike came to a halt, and the bike was pulled down. Zhao Yu rolled on the floor. By the time he crawled up, the blood flowing from his forehead blurred his vision once again. F*CK this SH*T. Zhao Yu cursed in anger and wiped away the blood on his eye. Pushing on his heavy body, he once again propped the bicycle up. At this point, seeing Zhao Yu's determination, Lan Bo and the others were truly stunned. Bro, Lan Bo extended his hand, wanting to stop the other, but in the next moment, he saw Zhao Yu's hand lightly tap on the car lock, and the lock immediately opened. Zhao Yu hopped on the bike in a simple fluid motion, and sped to the north of the storage unit. Lan Bo looked as if he just remembered something and immediately grabbed the walkie-talkie in Ma Wei's hand and threw it at Zhao Yu. Be careful. We'll catch up soon. Ma Wei and Lan Bo went to find bikes that were still usable, but as they were looking, Ma Wei looked as if he remembered something and pulled at Lan Bo. Wait. It's already night time, it's so dark. We can't see anything. How can we ride? Although Zhao Yu used the multi-function key awarded by the system to unlock the bicycle and had also used the night vision device which he had recently received so that he was able to see in the dark, his mind was filled with regret and frustration. If he had not been so anxious just now, he could have used an invisible tracking device to locate Ho Meng's location so that he would not have to worry about Ho Meng running away. However, due to the urgency of the situation just now, he had forgotten about this powerful tool. If he had been calm enough, he could have switched off the lights in the warehouse and used the night vision to sneak past those pyramid scammers and go after Ho Meng. This way, he would have been able to save a huge amount of time and energy, and he would not have to fight with those scammers. The situation now did not look good. As too much time had been wasted in the warehouse, they had no idea where Ho Meng had gone. If Zhang Yaohui and the other officers were not able to stop him, it would be terrible. With this thought, Zhao Yu quickly increased his speed and rode north of the warehouse with all his might. After the big fight just now, not only had Zhao Yu's stamina decreased significantly, but he had also suffered several punches and kicks, and his forehead was still bleeding non-stop. Things were not looking good for him, and he was now supporting his body purely based on willpower. After riding to a suitable location, Zhao Yu quickly got on the walkie-talkie, wanting to contact Zhang Yaohui and his group to ask where Ho Meng had gone. However, before he was able to say anything, he was shocked to hear a gunshot from one of the warehouses. Bang! The gunshot sounded extremely loud in the silent night. Zhao Yu quickly got on the bicycle again and rushed toward where the gunshot came from. After turning out of a passage, he suddenly saw a familiar figure. Zhang Yaohui was chasing something down a small road. As he ran, he raised his arm and pointed his gun in front of him. It could be seen that the gunshot had been fired by him. However, there seemed to be something wrong with Zhang Yaohui's leg. He was limping as he ran. At crucial moments, he even tiptoed on one leg and jumped forward. Yaohui. What's wrong? Zhao Yu quickly rushed forward a few steps and finally caught up with Zhang Yaohui. Where's Ho Meng? Zhang Yaohui quickly pointed in front of him and shouted when he saw Zhao Yu. Quick! Just in front. Damn! That fella has a gun. A BB gun. He shot my leg. Zhao Yu. Quick! Don't let him get away. Imitation gun. Damn. Zhao Yu just recalled that Ho Meng had been to jail because of illegal possession of weapons. He had not expected that this fellow would actually have an imitation gun with him. Here. Take it. Zhang Yaohui's face was sweating, but he still ran forward with all his might. Seeing that Zhao Yu's motorcycle was faster, he passed the gun to Zhao Yu and shouted in a hurried voice, "Don't let him get away no matter what." Zhao Yu did not need to be reminded. He quickly took the gun and continued forward with all his might. As Zhao Yu had already turned on the night vision mode, he had clearer vision than anyone else. Although he did not have the help of a telescope, he was able to see a person escaping onto a small road on his right within a short distance. Ho Meng! With bloodshot eyes, Zhao Yu pedaled faster with his legs and pursued him down the small road. Ho Meng's physical strength started to decrease, probably because he had been running for too long. After Zhao Yu went after him for some distance, he was getting closer and closer to him. At that moment, not only could Zhao Yu see that the person escaping was the murder suspect, Ho Meng, but Ho Meng was also able to see that Zhao Yu was in hot pursuit. Unexpectedly, even before Ho Meng could see clearly, he turned and fired a shot at Zhao Yu. The steel ball bullet shot out from the imitation gun could not be underestimated. Zhao Yu felt a dull ache on his shoulder followed by sharp pain. Oh, this shot had landed on his right shoulder. After being shot, his whole arm started to feel numb and almost could not move. Zhao Yu wanted to strike back with his pistol, but it was extremely difficult with his arm feeling tight. At that moment, the two had reached a small road at the center of two large warehouses. The road surface was asphalt, and there were no trees covering the area. Under the bright moonlight, the two were able to see each other very clearly. It was not likely that Ho Meng would be able to get away. After seeing that his pursuer was on a bicycle, he stopped running and held the imitation gun in his hand instead, aiming it at Zhao Yu, wanting to shoot him down right there. However, just as Ho Meng was aiming carefully, something which he could never comprehend happened. Ho Meng was shocked to see that there was only a bicycle chasing him, but there was no one on it. Ah! Ho Meng thought that there was something wrong with his eyes and quickly gave them a rub. After looking carefully again, he got a big shock. He saw that the pedals of the bicycle were turning fast and the bicycle was running toward him at a great speed, but there was really no one on the bicycle. He quickly looked at his surroundings and did not see anyone around. Huh! Ho Meng was suddenly confused. What was going on? Don't tell me, the bicycle turned into a spirit, he wondered. Seeing that the bicycle was already in front of him, Ho Meng had no choice but to fire twice at it. However, the bullets hitting the bicycle had no effect at all, it was still charging at him. Damn! At that moment, Ho Meng finally realized that he was in a bad situation. He stopped thinking about shooting, then turned and ran away instead. However, the bicycle had already reached a speed of 40 miles on the smooth road, it was too late for Ho Meng to run away. Just as he turned around, the bicycle knocked right into him. Bam! With a loud crash, Ho Meng was thrown up high, and then rolled a few times on the ground. His gun fell and his backpack also flew off. Find the new ST Ovals on n/velben.com. Ah! Ho Meng felt dizzy. His back was in pain and his face had also been scratched on the ground. However, before he could scream out in pain, something even more ghostly happened. After Ho Meng turned his head, he was horrified to see that the bicycle was actually dangling in midair and slowly swayed right above him. Ah! Is this a spirit? Ghost? Just as Ho Meng was panicking, the bicycle fell and smashed on Ho Meng's head. He started bleeding and almost fainted. Ah! Ho Meng laid feebly on the ground and started groaning. While he was groaning, he suddenly heard a loud sound near his thighs. After a few seconds, he was terrified to see a man suddenly appear right beside him like in a magic show. What was more horrifying was that this man had a gun in his hand and he was pointing it at Ho Meng's thigh, ready to pull the trigger. Damn, the man cursed angrily. Are there no bullets? Just as the man finished speaking, the gun gave off a bang, hitting Ho Meng's thigh at point-blank range, making it all bloody. Ah! Ho Meng's blood-curdling scream suddenly came from the quiet warehouse compound. The man holding the gun also got a shock and sat onto the ground as he kept cursing, "Holy sh*t." How could the person who yelled "Holy sh*t" be anyone but Zhao Yu? Just as Zhao Yu was regretting not using the invisible tracking device, he suddenly noticed the invisibility cloak. Thus, when he saw the powerful BB gun in Ho Meng's hand, he used it without hesitation. But after he used it, only he turned invisible, the bicycle did not. Thus, through Ho Meng's eyes, the bicycle looked like it was possessed. Once he stunned Ho Meng by throwing the bike at him, Zhao Yu became more and more angry. In order to capture this guy, he had taken a beating from that bunch of pyramid scammers, and his elbow had also been shot by Ho Meng's BB gun. In order to return the favor, Zhao Yu aimed the gun right at Ho Meng's thigh. But he had never shot a gun before, and with his right elbow not working properly, he could only shoot with his left hand. He was not sure what was wrong with the gun, but he had to pull the trigger many times before the gun went off. In the end, the loud sound of the gunshot shocked Zhao Yu himself, and the recoil sent him stumbling onto the ground as he cursed, "Holy sh*t." Ah! Ah! Ho Meng's thigh immediately turned into a bloody hole, the meat on his thigh swayed from the impact. The man was in pain beyond pain, wailing profusely. Hearing the loud gunshot, Zhang Yaohui was the first to rush to the scene. Seeing that the person who was shot was indeed Hou Meng, he finally breathed out in relief and simultaneously shot a thumb up to Zhao Yu in praise. "Bro, your shooting skills are quite impressive. To hit them with only one shot." Zhao Yu wanted to explain that he shot the other out revenge and that he was already defenseless. But before he managed to speak, Zhang Yaohui already ran up and stepped right on Hou Meng's wound with one foot. "Ah!" With a wail of pain, Hou Meng immediately fainted. "Your mom." Zhang Yaohui kicked him a few more times in revenge, clenching his teeth in anger. "Just one shot is going easy on you." Then, Zhang Yaohui turned and pulled out handcuffs, and cuffed Hou Meng's two hands together. Then, Lan Bo and the others all rushed to the scene as well. After some brief communication, 5 or 6 more minutes passed, and the team led by Liu Changhu finally arrived. Hearing that Zhao Yu and the others had finally captured the suspect who murdered team leader Chu Ping, all the investigators felt satisfied and immediately started taking care of the scene of chase according to routine. The investigators thought they only had to take Hou Meng to the police station, but when they saw all of the pyramid scammers that had been beat up by Zhao Yu, and the bodies lying all over the storage room, they were stunned. In the end, they could only contact a few more police cars, and a few more ambulances. An hour later, inside the Rongyang branch Team A's office, Peng Xian specifically asked Department Leader Wang Fei to personally give Zhao Yu's head stitches. Originally, Department Leader Wang wanted Zhao Yu to go to the professional emergency room for treatment, but Zhao Yu insisted on staying at the office so he could get the news on Hou Meng's interrogation as soon as possible. "TSK, ouch," Zhao Yu grabbed onto Department Leader Wang's doctor gown and said through the pain, "Department Leader Wang, can you work a little lighter? I'm still alive, not a corpse." "No." Department Leader Wang remained heavy-handed, but spoke gently, "If I don't use some strength, how can I stitch this up?" "Zhao Yu, if you ask me, you should go to the hospital for a full examination. You don't want any more other issues. This isn't a joke." No need. Zhao Yu clenched his teeth. "It was just a hit over the head with a stick. I'm curious, how could a stick actually open a wound? The stick might not be completely smooth, so you got a splinter." "You, stop moving." Department Leader Wang continued the stitches, but Zhao Yu noticed that Peng Xian stood less than a meter in front of him, her arms crossed. "I say, team leader," Zhao Yu asked, "why are you so close to me? Why don't you go and ask how the interrogation went? Or, should I interrogate him instead? We're in a rush. Don't you start." Peng Xian's expression was hard. "I'm so close to you right now because I'm afraid of you going and making even more trouble. The details of your heroic actions have already spread all over the police station. You even though you caught Hou Meng, your methods, sigh." Peng Xian had just finished her sentence when she saw Zhang Yaohui leading a huge number of people into Team A's office. Wang Fei did not understand what was happening and immediately stopped what she was doing to turn and watch. Zhao Yu and Peng Xian also turned to watch, but realized that the entire office was filled with investigators from Team B. They came in and immediately surrounded Zhao Yu, each of them standing up straight. With a yell from Zhang Yaohui, everyone stood up straight and faced Zhao Yu, then respectfully bowed. "Oh." Zhao Yu paused in shock. Wang Fei and Peng Xian were both thunderstruck. After the bow, Zhang Yaohui took a quick stride toward Zhao Yu and spoke seriously, "Zhao Yu, on behalf of Team B, and on behalf of team leader Chu Ping," speaking this much, Zhang Yaohui's eyes reddened, and he forcefully swallowed before continuing to speak, "Thank you. Thank you for your selflessness in capturing the culprit. If it wasn't for you, we wouldn't have had any way to catch Hou Meng." "Yeah." Another elderly investigator sighed. Truthfully, we never liked you much, but now it's different. Zhao Yu, from now on Team B is at your beck and call. If you need anything, just name it. Discover W stories on no/e/lbin.com. Right. Another investigator who had always avoided Zhao Yu spoke up, Officer Zhao, I am completely convinced by your bravery. From now on you are my boss. If I can be of use to you, I will not hesitate to follow. Hearing words of such respect and admiration, Peng Xian looked as if she almost wanted to say something, but stopped herself. He, Zhao Yu laughed bitterly. Don't say it like that. Team leader Chu Ping was also my colleague and friend. To get revenge for her is my duty. Right, since you are saying this, did Homeng confess? How did the interrogation go? Zhao Yu. Peng Xian immediately blocked him and scolded, don't mention that, okay? First take care of your stitches. Seeing this, Wang Fei immediately pulled on the needle again and continued her stitching. Captain Liu and team leader Mao Wei are still doing the interrogation. Lan Bo snuck under Peng Xian's arm and spoke, I heard a bit. That guy first said he drank too much, and that he doesn't know anything, then, he said not only did he drink, but he also was drugged. He says he doesn't remember anything. He's not confessing at all. What? Zhao Yu moved again, and the wound that was just stitched up started bleeding again. But Zhao Yu acted as if he didn't feel it at all as he said, don't remember anything? *T. I'll go interrogate him. Don't move. Department leader Wang immediately tried to stop him, and Peng Xian also restrained Zhao Yu. Seeing Zhao Yu's head bleeding, his flesh visible, Zhang Yaohui immediately tried to comfort him, bro, don't get too excited, wait first. The person has already been caught. He'll confess soon enough. We will all wait by the interrogation room. If there's any news, we'll tell you immediately. Don't worry. Right. Peng Xian immediately started to gesture at the group and agreed. We've already caught the person, why rush? You guys hurry up and go. Zhang Yaohui and the others said a few more words of encouragement, then finally left the office. Phew, Zhao Yu breathed in hard, even more agitated now. Even though they had caught the suspect, he still felt unsure. He felt that Chu Ping's case was not so simple. Whether it was the murder weapon being in the wrong spot, or Homeng's drunken claim, there were many problems. Zhao Yu felt that only when Homeng confessed the truth, could they get to the end of the case. Lie detector. There was only one lie detector left, and Zhao Yu had wanted to use it to solve the Mianling kidnapping case, but in order to find the truth behind Chu Ping's murder, it seemed like he would have to use it now. Although he had already used the lie detector 4 times, Zhao Yu was still unsure of how powerful the lie detector really was. Firstly, the accuracy of the lie detector was beyond question. It was precisely because of its amazing performance that Zhao Yu was able to solve the slaughter case and determine that the real murderer was Liu Pengfei. However, after testing it on Liu Pengfei and Lin Meifeng, Zhao Yu realized that the power of the lie detector was far beyond his imagination. The lie detector was even able to detect things that someone was unsure of. With such power, Zhao Yu could not help but let his thoughts run wild. He wondered, if he got a random person and used the lie detector to ask them about the case, would it also have the same effect? If it really worked, could Zhao Yu narrow down the questions and then determine the real murderer from there? For example, he could ask a random person if the real murderer of the Mianling case was a Mianling local. Was it 1 person, 2 people, or 3? Was it a female? Between 20 to 30 years old? With the last name Wang? Was it a police officer, etc.? If the lie detector was able to respond, wouldn't he be able to narrow down the target very soon? And he would make a breakthrough? However, after reading the introduction to the lie detector carefully, he began to have doubts. The introduction stated that the lie detector could only test questions which were simple and specific, otherwise it would not have any effect. Zhao Yu wondered what the word specific meant. Could it mean that the person being tested had to be related to the question? Would it not be effective on a random person, such as Lin Meifeng? Although she was not aware of the truth, she participated in the crime, which was why the lie detector worked. After thinking it over, Zhao Yu did not dare try this experiment in the end. He was worried that he would waste his last lie detector if it failed. After all, the lie detector was too important for solving cases. Zhao Yu felt that he should instead continue to put in effort in completing the adventures, and he could experiment after he received another lie detector. However, Chu Ping's death had obviously messed up Zhao Yu's plans. He was now eager to know the truth behind Chu Ping's death. He wanted to know if Chu Ping had died because of her investigation over the Mianling case. If that was the case, it meant that the real murderer of the Mianling case had already appeared and was an extremely dangerous person. Even he himself was in great danger. His life was at stake and it was no joke. Zhao Yu felt that he had figured out the truth soon, even if he had to use the last lie detector. However, Ho Meng was now being interrogated by Lu Changhu and Mao Wei. The higher-ups were worried that Zhao Yu would act brazenly again, so they got Ping Xian to look over him and not let him go near the interrogation room. Having no other choice, Zhao Yu could only wait patiently for their interrogation to end, then he would find a chance to get near Ho Meng. After disinfecting and stitching his forehead, Chief Wang also bandaged Zhao Yu's wound and thoroughly cleaned the wounds on the other parts of his body. Although his right arm had been shot by a steel ball bullet, it was not serious since it had been from a far distance. That type of bullet caused enormous pain after being hit, but the pain also dissipated very quickly after. Thus, not only was Zhao Yu's wound all right, but Zhang Yaohui's leg was also fine, and he was already able to move around freely. However, Lu was not as lucky as them. His head had hit a metal bed while fighting with the pyramid scammers. He suffered a concussion and had been sent to the hospital for observation and treatment. Although Lan Bo had also been beaten up and his face was swollen, he did not suffer any serious injuries and only needed simple treatment to reduce swelling. After Chief Wang finished treating Zhao Yu, Ping Xian still kept a close watch on Zhao Yu. She watched closely outside the door even when he went to the toilet, afraid that he might get into trouble again. As they had to wait for the results, most of the detectives from the Key Case Investigation Unit did not go back and either stayed in the office or waited for orders outside the interrogation room. Although Zhao Yu stayed put in the office, he already knew the latest information on the interrogation from what Lan Bo had sent him on his phone. As Ho Meng had been shot in his thigh and the wound was quite serious, there was a professional doctor giving him emergency treatment in the interrogation room. In order not to affect the interrogation progress, the treatment was done while he was being interrogated. Initially, Ho Meng was not fully conscious and kept mumbling about a bicycle becoming a spirit and that he had seen a ghost. As the doctors gave him treatment, he finally gained consciousness after a while and narrated the whole incident that day. According to Ho Meng, he was enjoying himself at a nightclub with a group of friends. Not only had he drunk, but he had also taken drugs. In the end, he did not know when he went or how he left the place. He also could not remember where he had gone after leaving. After gaining consciousness, he had been lying on the shoulder of the road on a field. He first discovered himself lying in front of a white car and holding a female's bag to his chest. Right after this, he was shocked to see that there was a person covered in blood lying in the field, not moving at all. At that time, he had not completely regained his senses and was terrified. He instinctively left the scene with the bag, and he was not even sure if Chu Ping was dead then. Only after he reached his home at dawn did he see that his hands, clothes, and even his body had bloodstains on them. It was then that he realized that he could get into big trouble. Feeling nervous, he first called his girlfriend and told her that he was going into hiding and got her to transfer him some money. Then, he made a phone call to Ji Chunhua and asked him for help. Ji Chunhua was quite loyal to his friends. Not only did he arrange for Ho Meng to hide in the pyramid nest at Nanchuan Tower warehouse, but he also got his men to arrange for him to get away. However, things were just so coincidental. Ho Meng felt distraught that night and could not go to sleep. He kept thinking that the situation which he had gotten into could not be so easily solved. Therefore, he packed his things in advance and planned to run away at night and not wait for Ji Chunhua's arrangement. When he reached the entrance of the warehouse with his backpack, he had a sudden craving for cigarettes and decided to take a puff first before fleeing. Unexpectedly, before he could light up his cigarette, he ran into Lan Bo, and that was how the scene which followed happened. According to the information that the police had, Ho Meng had previous robbery records, and the method used by him was forcing one's car to stop, which was similar to how Chu Ping had been killed. Therefore, Liu Changhu and the others had already firmly believed that Ho Meng was Chu Ping's killer. He must have taken too many drugs that night, and after being stimulated, he decided to repeat the same thing again and committed another highway robbery. In the end, he stopped team leader Chu Ping's car and wanted to rob her. The two got into an argument in the process, and Ho Meng killed Chu Ping after being enraged. All evidence, such as the weapon, fingerprints, skin, bloodstains, and Chu Ping's missing bag pointed at Ho Meng. No matter how he tried to deny, he was unable to avoid being the major suspect of a robbery and murder. Geht the Testfels on no/v/elben.c/om. To ensure that everything was foolproof, Liu Changhu immediately arranged for Zhang Yaohui and others to investigate and collect evidence from all around. After Ho Meng's statement, they needed to get the evidence, such as the bag and clothes back, and also arrest those friends of Ho Meng's who drank and took drugs with him, to see if their statements were consistent. Other than that, they also had to arrange for someone to investigate the surveillance videos near the bar to see what kind of state Ho Meng left the bar in. How did he get to the scene of the crime? Were there any eyewitness? Did Ho Meng have any accomplices, etc.? Therefore, many agents were being sent out, with the exception of Zhao Yu and Ping Xin. Zhao Yu knew that on the surface, the leaders were worried about his injuries and felt that it was inconvenient for him to move around, but in actuality, they were afraid that he would get into trouble again. Zhao Yu was also not interested in investigating this. There was only one thing on his mind which was of the utmost importance. Did Chu Ping's death have anything to do with the Mianling case? If they were related, then he only needed to get the truth behind Chu Ping's death, and the truth behind the Mianling kidnapping case would also come out. Unexpectedly, just as Zhao Yu was seriously thinking, the system suddenly spoke and told him that the current adventure had been completed. His completion rate was 96%. He received another 5 tools as a reward. As Zhao Yu was hoping to receive the powerful invisible lie detector again, he quickly opened the tools to check before doing the analysis. Invisible breathing device, the system said. This tool is able to provide oxygen for breathing under any circumstance for a period of 10 minutes. Zhao Yu thought for a bit, but immediately realized that the invisible breathing device was basically an invisible gas tank. If he fell in water one day, or ended up somewhere without oxygen, he could use this to breathe. Actually, this reward really matched the high completion rate of 96% well. This was a lifesaver. He had to make sure to remember it in case if he got into any danger. Once he examined his item, Zhao Yu instinctively pulled out his notebook and started writing down things related to that day's hexagram explanation. Today's Kuan-Gen hexagram had come to an end. The Gen hexagram was easy to explain, it was related to work. He caught the suspect of Chu Ping's murder, so obviously he had a huge breakthrough related to work. Thus, the high completion rate was obvious. But what about the Kuan hexagram? What did that represent? Kuan meant Earth. Was it related to an earthquake-like incident? Then every time he got the Kuan hexagram, would there be a huge murder or case? Also, even though he did not know what Kuan meant, judging from the completion rate, did he do well? But, how did I complete it, he wondered. Thinking long and hard, Zhao Yu still felt he was far from the true meaning of the Kuan hexagram, thus he simply recorded his observations and did not think much of it. Through Chu Ping's death, Zhao Yu was a little fearful of the Kuan hexagram. He felt that it was not a good hexagram, and he hoped that it would appear less. It was already dawn by that point. After Zhao Yu finished his record, he rolled a cigarette and opened his new hexagram. Since it was a new day, what kind of hexagram would appear? Zhao Yu listened carefully. Xincan hexagram, the system rang out. Xin for thunder and Can for water. Thunder rolls upon water and disturbs the depth, it is quite worrying. Xincan hexagram? Zhao Yu thought to himself. Xin represents status, so maybe my ranking might go up today? Can represents women, so today there will be another woman falling for me? The hexagram explanation seemed pretty good. Zhao Yu was only a little disappointed about the lack of the important Zhen hexagram. No doubt this worried him. The thing he wanted the most was to find out the truth. Originally, the Mianlin case was already very confusing, but with team leader Chu Ping was suddenly murdered, he felt like everything was in chaos. Zhao Yu felt that once Ho Meng's interrogation ended, no matter what, he had to talk to him. Even if he had to waste his last precious lie detector, it would be worth it. Originally, there had been specific rooms in the police station to allow investigators to rest, but having been in the detective career so long, all of the investigators were used to this sort of night job, so the resting rooms had become storage rooms long ago. Vi sit en velben, cm for EU ovals. With the passing time, by the time the dawn arrived, the work given to Yang Yaohui and others was completed, and they all came back with reports one by one. After a night of battle, they finally captured the people who were drinking with Ho Meng that night, and also found many witnesses. According to these people's words, what Ho Meng had said was true. That night, Ho Meng not only drank, but also took drugs, and had left by himself. The cameras at the bar had very clear video evidence of him, and one could clearly see him leave the bar by himself, his movement seemingly agitated. By the looks of it, it was possible for Ho Meng to have left the bar and head straight for the scene of crime, then kill team leader Chu Ping there. But that was where the weird part began. Due to the distance between the scene of crime and the bar, the investigators wanted to use the cameras to capture Ho Meng's route, to see how he approached the scene of crime. The investigators looked through all the nearby cameras, but did not find any sign of Ho Meng. It seemed like he simply disappeared after leaving the bar. The investigators even looked at all the nearby taxis or cabs that passed by the area. No one admitted to seeing Ho Meng. This was simply too strange. Even though there were videos of Ho Meng after Chu Ping's murder, before Chu Ping's murder, there was no sign of him anywhere in any surveillance camera. In other words, the investigators only knew how Ho Meng left, but not how he arrived at the scene of the crime. Just how he arrived at the scene of crime, no one knew, even himself. This only added to Zhao Yu's suspicions. Could it be, Chu Ping's death really had some hidden truth? Was team leader Chu really murdered by Ho Meng? Or was there another culprit? With this chain of confusion, Zhao Yu really wanted to go to the interrogation room himself and use the chance to find the truth with his lie detector. At this time, Ping Xin was still slumped on the office desk, fast asleep. Zhao Yu quickly left the office, planning on running off. But just as he walked into the hallway, he suddenly ran into Mao Wei. It seemed like Mao Wei had come for Zhao Yu. As soon as he saw Zhao Yu, he immediately grabbed his arm and said, "Oh? Zhao, just in time, I was looking for you." "What's up?" Zhao Yu asked, noticing that Mao Wei's expression was a bit strange. Mao Wei avoided making eye contact as he spoke. "Zhao, hurry, the bureau chief is looking for you." "It's Bureau Chief Zhou, not Bureau Chief Wan." "Bureau Chief Zhou?" Zhao Yu paused, but he saw something in Mao Wei's expression. "What's wrong? Why is he looking for me?" Sigh. "Isn't it?" Mao Wei sighed, but stopped what he wanted to say. He instead changed the topic. "You, just hurry and go. You'll know when you get there. Go to Bureau Chief Zhou's office." As he pulled Zhao Yu forward, Yao Wei reminded the other carefully, "From what I saw, Bureau Chief Zhou seemed a bit strange. When you get there, be sure to speak carefully. Don't do anything rash again." A bit strange? Oh. Zhao Yu understood. It must be because Bureau Chief Zhou heard what Zhao Yu had done in order to capture Ho Meng. It seemed that the bureau chief was very angry, and the results would be severe. But Zhao Yu did not care. Even though the process had been a bit immoral, the results were good. At least he caught the culprit. All right, since the bureau chief had asked to see him, he would go listen and see what the chief had to say. Just as Zhao Yu arrived at the bureau chief's office, Secretary Su Chao was leaving. When he saw Zhao Yu coming at him with his bloody head, Su Chao immediately ran to the side in fear, and opened the door for Zhao Yu almost like a guard. He watched as Zhao Yu strutted in. As soon as Zhao Yu entered, he immediately closed the door. Bureau Chief Zhou had just finished brewing his cup of Longjing tea, and was currently sitting at his desk holding his teacup and blowing on the tea leaves. Upon seeing Zhao Yu arrival, he put down his teacup and spoke seriously. "Zhao Yu, come here." He pointed at Zhao Yu's forehead. "How is it? How's your wound?" Even though bureau chief sounded concerned, from his tone, one could tell that he was quite angry. "No need to worry," Zhao Yu spoke politely. "Thank you for your concern, but it was only 8 stitches. Bureau Chief Zhou did not react much, but started speaking again. "I heard that yesterday you caught the suspect who murdered team leader Chu. You're quite something." The word something came through Bureau Chief Zhou's clenched teeth. "Not at all, not at all." Even though Zhao Yu noticed Bureau Chief Zhou's tone, he was still praising him, so he could only cooperate. "This was just the result of your guidance." Ha ha. Zhao Yu's laughter made Bureau Chief Zhou even more awkward. He could not hold it anymore and slammed his hand on the table and yelled at Zhao Yu, "Zhao Yu! I'm officially informing you now, due to your severe transgression of the police code, ignoring the law, and abusing your authority, I, as the Bureau Chief of Rongyang Branch Office, I authorize suspension as punishment upon further investigation." What? Zhao Yu was stunned. "Bureau Chief Zhou, what do you mean by this? Why do you want to suspend me? Why?" Bureau Chief Zhou pointed at the desk with his index finger and said, "You hired people to beat up the suspect's girlfriend last night, and also obstructed the officers on duty. Then you led a group of agents into Guangyuan Tea House and broke the leg of its boss in front of everyone. You beat up people. Do you know that what you've done is not only against regulation but against the law?" There were 2 members of the city council among the eyewitnesses. "You, as policeman, how could you do this? FIDDEU UPTS on NOV/E/LN.com. Bureau Chief Zhou, Zhao Yu quickly retaliated. They were the ones interfering with the investigation and obstructing justice. Didn't Ho Meng already account for this in his statement? These 2 knew that Ho Meng had committed murder, but they were still helping him. especially Ji Chunhua. He helped Ho Meng hide and even arranged for him to get away. This is not only concealing a crime, but he's an accomplice. You're only saying this after it has happened, Bureau Chief Zhou rebutted bluntly. This was based on your assumption before you decided to take action. A wild guess. A gamble. You did not have sufficient evidence at all. What if they had nothing to do with Ho Meng? Do you know what your actions are called? Beating innocent people, abuse of power, you could be dismissed. Dismissed? Zhao Yu straightened his back and said righteously, Team Leader Chu Ping, a key case investigation team leader, was killed. Her body was left out on the streets. How do you want to handle this? Continue waiting? Watch over the witnesses helplessly and continued waiting like this? If I had not taken extreme actions last night, Ho Meng would have escaped with Ji Chunhua's arrangements. Excuses! Bureau Chief Zhou was exasperated. All right, even if you got Ho Meng as a fluke. What happened after that? You just needed to catch the suspect. Look what you did. There were 12 people in that warehouse who have been seriously injured by you, 5 are still in the hospital now, and 1 is even in ICU and almost died. Zhao Yu, although they were pyramid scammers, they are still citizens protected by the law. Think about what you've done. Bureau Chief. Zhao Yu said angrily, those pyramid sellers were all brainwashed. Not only did they stop me from catching Ho Meng, they also attacked us and wanted to kill us. There were 40 to 50 of them, and they even closed the door. There were only 3 of us. If we showed them mercy, would we still be alive? Do you mean that we should have been beaten and not retaliate? Even if we were not officers on duty, it would be considered a legitimate act of defense, even for regular citizens. Huh. Zhao Yu. Bureau Chief Zhou was breathing hard. You're still finding excuses for yourself. Don't you feel, even a little bit, that what you did yesterday was wrong? I only know that I did the right thing yesterday, Zhao Yu clenched his fist, and that's catching the suspect who killed team leader Chu Ping. Unrepentant. Huh. Bureau Chief Zhou was shaking with fury. We are policemen, we are a disciplined service, we have to think of the consequences before acting. We cannot do as we please and disregard the law. You better reflect on your own conduct. Bureau Chief. Zhao Yu glared like a bull and clenched his teeth. At the place where team leader Chu was killed, there was only a video showing Ho Meng leaving, but none showing him arriving. He wasn't holding any weapons, and the weapon appeared in a garbage bin more than a kilometer away. This means that Ho Meng might have an accomplice. There may be more to team leader Chu Ping's death than what meets the eye. Don't tell me all this when you've already been suspended. You don't have to worry about this. Before team leader Chu was killed, Zhao Yu did not listen to the bureau chief's warning and continued saying, we had already made great progress in the Mianling case investigation. I suspect that team leader Chu Ping's death might be linked to the Mianling case. There could be another mastermind behind Ho Meng. And this mastermind is also very likely to know the truth behind the Mianling case. I have nothing to say about your whimsical thinking. Bureau Chief Zhou did not care about Zhao Yu's opinion. Don't think that you're a great detective after solving a few cases. Facts need to be proven by evidence. We need evidence, not just by you saying might be and likely. If my deduction is correct, Zhao Yu also did not wait for the bureau chief to finish and continued with his thought at the same time, it's definitely not an ordinary person who knew team leader Chu Ping. The real mastermind is not an outsider, but is from our own police station. There's a rat inside the police force. We have to get to the bottom of all this fast. Zhao Yu. Bureau Chief Zhou could not take it anymore. He raised his hand and slammed the table as he shouted, I'll be straight with you. There's now a complaint against you which is now on the way to the police station. I've already gotten 2 scoldings early this morning because of you. I'm already being very kind by not firing you. If not for the fact that you caught Ho Meng in the end, it wouldn't be as simple as just a suspension. You could already be put into custody by the police force, do you know that? Bureau Chief. Zhao Yu's tone was even higher than the bureau chief's. Team leader Chu Ping is dead. Aren't you the least bit concerned about why she died? A responsible and dutiful detective leader died, just like that. Don't you care to know the truth? How do you know that I'm not concerned and not upset? Bureau Chief Zhou went another tone higher and roared angrily, Team leader Chu is dead. Do I really have to cry in front of you? You said I don't care about the truth? If I didn't care about the truth, would I have applied to the city bureau to activate the entire Qingshan police force? It's useless activating the police force alone. Zhao Yu shouted, unwilling to accept defeat. I understand the situation of the Mianling case. This case has to be investigated by me. And it has to be solved fast. There's a possibility that the mastermind is someone with great power in the police station. Zhao Yu! Zhao Yu! Bureau Chief Zhou was extremely furious. He flew into a rage and shouted, we have our rules and basis in the police force. You breached the discipline and guidelines, so you have to accept punishment. Don't you understand what I said? Go back home and wait to hear how you'll be dealt with. Stop worrying about the case. Don't think that the police force is nothing without you. Get out now. Ah. Anger got into Zhao Yu's head and he could not control himself anymore. He raised his leg and kicked Bureau Chief Zhou's desk. Bureau Chief Zhou's desk was made from rosewood and was extremely heavy. It normally took great effort just to move it a little. After Zhao Yu's ferocious kick, the huge desk was like a seesaw and started shaking violently. Bam! The Longjing tea, freshly brewed by Bureau Chief Zhou, fell onto the floor with the expensive teacup and smashed to pieces. At that moment, Bureau Chief Zhou's face was as white as a sheet from shock, and he was completely stunned. Holy **T. Zhao Yu scolded angrily. You don't let me investigate, you think I want to entertain you? Huh. I quit. With this, Zhao Yu put up his middle finger at Bureau Chief Zhou and left. Just as he turned around, Secretary Song Chao, who rushed over after hearing the commotion, opened the office door at the same time. Seeing Zhao Yu come toward him aggressively, Song Chao quickly put his back against the door and looked at Zhao Yu as he left. A long while after Zhao Yu had left, Bureau Chief Zhou finally recovered from his shock. Bureau Chief, are you all right? Song Chao asked timidly. What? Bureau Chief Zhou finally thought of something. He said to himself trembling, he said that the mastermind is someone with great power in the police station, isn't this talking about me? Suspension. They dare to suspend me. Holy **T. Zhao Yu got more exasperated the more he thought about it. He had put in all this effort to catch the murderer, but he got suspended by the bureau chief in the end and that was it? Isn't this infuriating? When's the suspension gonna end? If I don't receive any reinstatement notice, then I don't have to work forever? After returning to Shunfeng Street, Zhao Yu was still cursing. He was even thinking about using the method he had wanted to use to shame Lu Changhu on Bureau Chief Zhou. He heard that Bureau Chief Zhou was a typical henpecked husband. If he found a girl to ruin him, would it make life difficult for this fella? As most of the agents were busy with their own work when Zhao Yu left the police station, they were not aware of Zhao Yu's suspension and no one took notice of it. Zhao Yu understood from the information on his phone that Ho Meng's interrogation was almost coming to an end. Although Ho Meng still insisted that he was not in his right mind and could not remember any details, faced with strong evidence, he had no choice but to gradually admit to his crime in silence. If this continued on, it was just a matter of time before Ho Meng would be convicted of killing Chu Ping. However, that would mean that Chu Ping's case might be closed abruptly, and no one would pay attention to the inconsistencies in the case anymore. If Ho Meng had another accomplice, it would be even more difficult to find them. Zhao Yu sighed and comforted himself. Forget it, I've been suspended anyway, why should I still bother? You guys can investigate whichever way you like. Anyway, I'm tired, let me get a good rest first. It was mid-morning and the sun was shining brightly. The traffic was still heavy at Shunfeng Street, and there were many old neighbors playing chess in front of Jiang Dafeng's fruit stall as usual. Jiang Dafeng had a white towel over his shoulder and he was thinking hard about the chess game. Seeing him engrossed in the game, Zhao Yu took a big orange on his way upstairs. He peeled the orange as he sauntered his way up. Unexpectedly, upon reaching the second floor, he saw a familiar figure standing at the door. Xiaomei, with long, wavy, red-dyed hair, was digging for her key to open the door. As she was carrying many things in her hand, it took her great effort to turn the key, and her shoulder even slanted to a 45-degree angle. Zhao Yu looked up and took a closer look. Xiaomei was wearing a mini skirt today with a skimpy top. Her long wavy hair almost reached her waist. Also, her tiny waist moved and twisted in front of Zhao Yu, making his heart twitch. Bro Yu? Xiaomei quickly greeted Zhao Yu when she saw him. What a coincidence, don't you have to work today? Zhao Yu had wanted to ask her if she had just got off from work, but before he could do so, he heard Xiaomei let out an astonished scream. Ah! Your head! Oh, Zhao Yu touched the bandage on his forehead. As part of the wound was covered by his hair, Chief Wang had shaven off a small portion of his hair when she stitched his wound and it looked very unsightly now. It's nothing, I had a fight with 40-something criminals yesterday and got wounded. Zhao Yu said indifferently as he continued walking forward and past Xiaomei. In that instant, a seductive scent entered his nose. The scent seemed to have magical powers, captivating Zhao Yu and slowing him down. Wah, 40-something? So many? Are you okay? Xiaomei turned her head and asked with concern, you even had stitches. Yes, just 8 stitches. I'm okay. Zhao Yu had already reached the stairs leading to the 3rd floor as he spoke. After taking another 2 steps forward, he stopped moving and turned to Xiaomei, but this hair is annoying. Do you know if there's a barber shop nearby? Barber shop. Xiaomei's eyes lit up. She held up a big plastic bag and said, look, these are all things for doing hair. I've studied beauty and hairdressing, I'm a hairdresser. Oh. At that instant, Zhao Yu thought of another thing. Today's hexagram reading was Jinkan. Can represented women, could it be? Then, how about, could I trouble you to help me tidy up? Zhao Yu pointed at his own head, but his eyes were already watching Xiaomei lustfully. No problem. With this, Xiaomei opened the anti-theft door and smiled as she pointed inside. Come on, I have everything here. Zhao Yu smiled and followed Xiaomei into her house. Oh yes, bro Yu, Xiaomei's question quickly came from inside the house. What kind of hairstyle do you want? I know many different hairstyles, hey? Hey, bro Yu, what are you doing, hey? Take it easy. Slow down. Hey, a messy noise came from Xiaomei's house. A few seconds later, her anti-theft door suddenly shut. When Zhao Yu got off Xiaomei's bed, it was already 5 in the afternoon. Although it was still bright outside, the curtains in Xiaomei's house blocked light very well. It was dark in the house and Zhao Yu had no idea what time it was. After a morning and an afternoon, Zhao Yu seemed to have released all his pent-up fury on Xiaomei, and he gradually regained his senses and calmness. But Xiaomei had been tired out by him and was still deep asleep. Zhao Yu yawned before strolling to Xiaomei's bathroom and switching on the light. A bald man suddenly appeared in the mirror. Xiaomei had helped Zhao Yu shave off his hair according to his request. In this way, the hair would not hinder the healing of the wound, and it also saved him the trouble of washing his hair. All test NOVL on novelben/.cm. Zhao Yu looked at himself in the mirror without blinking and touched his shiny bald head. Yes. If my both arms had those two domineering green dragon tattoos again, wouldn't it be exactly the same as the old me? But Zhao Yu looked carefully again and realized that the reflection in the mirror lacked too much combativeness compared with the top fighter nicknamed Zhao Tianba. In the mirror, his build was slightly thin, and his skin was fair and delicate. Although he had no more hair and his body was covered in bruises, he still looked like a delicate-skinned boy toy. Splash! Zhao Yu turned on the tap and washed his face. The cold water made him more sober, and his thoughts returned to the main topic. Suspension. They dared to suspend me. Did I do too much? Say, that Ji Chunhua? Say, Ho Ming's girlfriend? Or those pyramid scammers? If those people withdraw their complaints against me, is there a possibility that I will be reinstated? Then, how can I get them to withdraw their complaint? Zhao Yu immediately thought of one thing, his fists. Could he use his fists and get those people to shut their mouths? At that instant, a huge and brutal reinstatement plan formed in Zhao Yu's head. If he really carried it out, it would probably cause another violent storm and many people would suffer. However, after forming the reinstatement plan, Zhao Yu quickly thought of another unavoidable subject. He had said to Bureau Chief Zhou that he was going to quit. Now, what should I do? Thinking of this, Zhao Yu felt regretful and wished that he had not been so rash toward Bureau Chief Zhou. Although Bureau Chief Zhou had suspended him, from the way he said it, it seemed like there was still room for mitigation. But after getting into a conflict so recklessly, it might be more difficult now. What should I do? Arg! Zhao Yu sighed and nagged himself, if not, I better quickly contact Yang Hong and get a girl to shame Bureau Chief Zhou. As long as I have something against him, wouldn't my reinstatement be a piece of cake? But it suddenly dawned on Zhao Yu that Zhou was a bureau chief. Would his small trick really work? Also, according to the grapevine, Zhou was a family man who loved his wife. It might be too much to just get a random girl. If not, Zhao Yu went on to think that if he really had no other way, he could get Chief Su Yang to help. I'm now his special investigator anyway. If I'm suspended, it will also have a great impact on his work. And if this doesn't work, I'll just quit. With my miracle system alone, I can just become a private investigator, so it'll be easy to strike it rich. Just as Zhao Yu was facing the mirror and making all sorts of conjecture, the system's notification suddenly sounded. The system told Zhao Yu that his adventure completion rate was 85% and that he obtained another skeleton key. Truthfully, he was quite surprised by this result. It was only 5 o'clock in the afternoon. When the adventure ended this early before, he had not gotten a single reward. 85% honestly wasn't that bad. Regarding the Jin hexagram of the Jinkin hexagram, which represented status, Zhao Yu had clearly experienced it firsthand. Just as he had guessed, the Jin hexagram not only could represent a rise in status, but if he was not careful, it could also mean a demotion. By the same reasoning, if he got the Jin hexagram again, it did not guarantee that he would get more money, maybe he could even lose money. From this, one could tell the key to the adventures that he got was still in the word adventure. How each person dealt with an adventure was entirely up to them. As for the Kin hexagram, it was obvious, Xiaomei. Having so easily seduced her, he had flawlessly completed Kinhexagram. Maybe the reason why his completion rate was above 80% was entirely based on his performance for the Kinhexagram. Zhao Yu held the skeleton key, further examining the newly obtained item. Judging from the completion rate, the value of this item was not low. Using it would make stealing from safes or whatever quite easy. But last night, he decided to use it on some stupid bike lock. That was truly a waste. Sigh. No need to talk about it. Zhao Yu once again glanced at his own baldness in the mirror, then made a wise decision. Shit, I'm hungry, let's eat first. At noon, he had had some tofu slices with Xiaomei, but he was hungry again, so he simply woke Xiaomei up, and the two went to eat lamb spine hot pot at the food stands outside. It could have been because the information had been sealed by the higher-ups, but the busy investigators only found out about Zhao Yu's suspension in the afternoon, when they were about to get off work. Only after Zhao Yu and Mimi finished their lamb spine hot pot did his phone start going off endlessly. All the investigators who knew Zhao Yu, including Zhang Yaohui and others from Team B, all called to ask how he was doing. Some suggested that Zhao Yu immediately apologize and get away with a slap on the wrist. Some encouraged Zhao Yu, telling him that he did not do anything wrong and had no need to apologize. Some even said they would sign a petition to help Zhao Yu. What shocked and touched Zhao Yu was that even department leader Wang Fei called. Wang Fei said that she had already asked Bureau Chief Luan, who said that Bureau Chief Zhou was still angry. Once he calmed down a bit, she said, the two of them would go and beg the bureau chief for Zhao Yu. She also told Zhao Yu to stay calm. Zhao Yu was very touched. In addition to expressing his appreciation, he also promised to invite department leader Wang Fei out for food, drinks, and a massage. Within the blink of an eye, 3 days passed by. In those 3 days, even though Zhao Yu looked like he was very relaxed, he had actually done many things. On the first day, he asked some people to find a way to help retrieve the blonde and the others from the juvenile detention center. Those people had helped him, so obviously Zhao Yu could not just forget about them. Zhao Yu invited them out for a feast, and also paid them a hefty work fee. The blonde was quite determined, and refused to take the money no matter what. The boy only put the money in his pocket once Zhao Yu started glaring at him. The next day, Mao Wei and Peng Xian led the Team A investigation members to visit Zhao Yu. Everyone was stunned by Zhao Yu's new hairstyle, but then started comforting him instead. Mao Wei patted his chest as he assured Zhao Yu that he would definitely petition the higher-ups for Zhao Yu to come back quickly. New N0VL chapters are published on N0V/E/LB/IN/Co/M. Since everyone came to visit him, Zhao Yu had to show his own sincerity. That night, he took everyone out for hot pot, and they drank until everyone was wasted. Then, on the third afternoon, Zhang Yaohui brought a few people who helped catch Hong Meng and came to visit as well. Zhao Yu once again fulfilled his duty as a host and invited them out to drink. As they drank, Zhang Yaohui told Zhao Yu that when they heard of Zhao Yu's suspension, a few of them cursed the bureau chief out endlessly, calling him an ally of the devil and someone who was incapable of considering the bigger picture, etc. Of course, all cursing aside, they did manage to capture the suspect in Chu Ping's murder. The higher-ups did not forget to give credit where credit was due. When noting down who helped close the case, they made sure to include Zhao Yu. According to Zhang Yaohui, Hong Mei still had not signed the confession and said that he would report them. But all evidence indicated that Hong Meng was team leader Chu Ping's murderer. Getting a confession out of him was only a matter of time. Originally, Zhao Yu wanted to take this chance and discuss the case with them to see if they missed any details, but these Team B investigators were still getting over Chu Ping's death. Added with the fact they were drinking at the time, Zhao Yu could not speak up. Besides, Zhao Yu felt that since he still had a lie detector, once he interrogated Hong Meng himself, the truth would come out. Unlike his colleagues in Team A, Zhang Yaohui, Mao Wei, Lan Bo, and Lu were all youngsters. They were all about the same age as Zhao Yu, so they were rowdy as they drank. Zhang Yaohui and the others already mentioned that the few of them would petition the higher-ups to help Zhao Yu. They added that if Zhao Yu needed anything later, they would help to the best of their ability. Zhao Yu used to be a man of the streets, and obviously cared the most about brotherly loyalty. He immediately followed up, promising to share the joy and pain with the few of them. Just like that, they all got more and more worked up as they spoke, nearly becoming sworn brothers. Logically speaking, Zhao Yu was currently resting and should not drink, but Zhao Yu was an emotional person. In the past 3 days, he drank 3 times without a single rest. Yet, he gained nothing in regards to the miracle system. Even though he opened a hexagram every day, due to work suspension, Zhao Yu felt weak and unmotivated, and wasted them all. Only on the 4th day did Zhao Yu finally find something to do. It was not just something important, but it was also serious and downcast, because he was going to attend Team Leader Chu Ping's funeral. Team Leader Chu Ping's funeral took place in a funeral home. After the funeral, the body would be cremated. Before the funeral, Zhao Yu opened the Zhenli hexagram. The hexagram explanation said, Zhen for thunder and Li for fire. Heavy thunder and furious flames continue on, endless setbacks with many up and downs. Even though Zhao Yu could not quite understand the hexagram explanation, hearing heavy thunder and furious flames, he felt that he would have an unfortunate day. As a police team leader, Chu Ping's funeral would obviously be rather grand. Arriving at the scene were colleagues and leaders from the branch office, and even many members of the city-level office. The atmosphere was very solemn inside the funeral home. The people attending were all sad beyond belief, their pain piling up. For one, team leader Chu Ping had simply died too young. To face such tragedy, to have their life end early was truly regrettable. Secondly, regardless of her time at the provincial office or the branch office, Chu Ping had always been a highly active member of the police force. Whether it was her job or her achievements, they were all excellent. She had long been someone who was heavily valued by the higher-ups. Had it not been for this tragic accident, her future would have been very bright. As music played in the background during the funeral procession, everyone participated in a 3-minute moment of silence for Chu Ping. All the officers present saluted. At the time, Zhao Yu heard Chu Ping's daughter speaking. Chu Ping and her husband Bai Yongyu had a son and daughter. The eldest son was currently dorming at his high school, while their daughter was only 4 years old and had always been taken care of by Chu Ping's mother. Since everyone present was participating in the moment of silence, Chu Ping's daughter's na-vi voice could clearly be heard by many people. The child knelt in front of her mother's grave and kept pushing at her brother, asking, "Brother, why isn't mommy waking up? You should call her, I want her to take me to play with Naughty Bear. Is that okay?" Hearing her sister, the brother started crying himself. He grabbed his sister's shoulder and spoke honestly, "Xin, Mom is dead. She won't wake up again, she won't." Mommy, Mommy," seeing her brother crying noiselessly, the child's own tears started pouring out. "I want my mom," she sobbed. Hearing the 2 children crying quietly, many people could not help but tear up themselves. At that moment, Zhao Yu also felt bitter inside, his own eyes turned red. In that moment, his mind was filled with memories of Chu Ping's bright smile and voice while she was alive, and her determination for solving cases. Team Leader Chu. Zhao Yu thought to himself, "Please take care. Don't worry, no matter how difficult our road is, I will finish what you started, I will follow your way and continue on." It was also in that moment that Zhao Yu decided, no matter what, he must return to the police force as soon as possible. Only then could he continue to investigate the truth behind Chu Ping's death, and continue investigating the Mianling case that shook Qinshan. Once the funeral finished, it was time for the cremation. After the cremation, the ashes would be taken to the cemetery and buried. Zhao Yu followed the entire way, quietly accompanying team leader Chu on this last journey. Yet, just as Chu Ping was buried, and Zhao Yu followed the crowd out of the cemetery, his phone suddenly rang. There was no caller ID. Once he picked up, the person did not even greet him, but immediately spoke in a commanding tone, "Zhao Yu, there's a Buick commercial vehicle in your 11 o'clock direction. Come by yourself, hurry up." Without waiting for Zhao Yu to respond, they immediately hung up. Zhao Yu looked up and saw there was indeed a blue Buick on the street outside of the cemetery. Even though the person talking on the phone spoke quickly, but Zhao Yu more or less figured out who it was. He couldn't help but think, weird, why is this mysterious guy looking for me again? With some confusion, Zhao Yu bid his colleagues farewell and went to the Buick alone. Just as he got close, the car door opened. He saw the bureau chief Liao Jingxian from the city office getting out the car quickly. Clearly, the call was from him. "Ah, leader!" Zhao Yu shook his head and asked, "What do you need? Why are we having some sort of secret meeting?" Before Zhao Yu could finish, bureau chief Liao immediately made a shushing gesture. Zhao Yu almost thought he was in some kind of dangerous situation and was shocked. Bureau Chief Liao was still the same as before, almost mute in front of Zhao Yu, not saying a word. He looked around for a good 2 minutes. Once he confirmed no one was paying attention, he finally put his hand on the door and pulled the car door open. When Zhao Yu looked into the car, he was completely shocked. Inside the car was a wheelchair, and on the wheelchair was a white-haired elder. "No way." Zhao Yu's eyes widened as he spoke in shock, "Jing, Captain Jing, you?" Due to the darkness in the car, Zhao Yu could not see Captain Jin's expression. Just as he was about to look more carefully, he suddenly heard Captain Jing's roar. "Kid, what are you waiting for? Carry me out." "Oh." Zhao Yu paused, but finally realized what he meant and immediately took the wheelchair out of the car, then tried to help support the captain get into the wheelchair from his car seat. But to his surprise, Captain Jin's legs had completely lost their strength. Zhao Yu basically had to use his own strength and put Captain Jin in the wheelchair. Before he even sat down properly on the chair, Captain Jin immediately roared at Liao Jingxian, "Liao, why aren't you helping me? Hurry, get the flowers!" Even though Liao Jingxian was a high-level official in the city office, he was still bossed around like a child by Captain Jin. But this bureau chief also was not arrogant. He did not even talk back as he grabbed the flowers from the car and handed them to Captain Jin. Zhao Yu, once Captain Jin held the flowers in his arms, he waved at Zhao Yu and commanded, "Go, push me. Let's go give these flowers to Chu Ping." Captain Ji, Zhao Yu wanted to say something, but seeing Captain Jin glare at him, he could only rush over and push the chair steadily into the cemetery. Once Bureau Chief Liao saw, he did not follow, but returned to the car without another word. The sun that day was quite beautiful. Zhao Yu pushed the wheelchair and noticed that Captain Jin was very different from before. Not only did he look much older, but his entire body was very thin. Bent over on the wheelchair, he seemed to be withering away. "What's wrong?" Zhao Yu had many questions. What happened to Captain Jin who had disappeared for so long? Furthermore, why did Bureau Chief Liao appear with Captain Jin? "Jin, you." Zhao Yu waited for a bit but could not help but ask, "What happened to you? Are you really sick? Isn't it obvious? If I wasn't sick, why would I sit on a wheelchair?" Jin retorted. What illness? Is it bad?" Zhao Yu asked immediately. He did not even finish speaking, but noticed that one of Captain Jin's cloth shoes had fallen onto the ground. When Zhao Yu saw, he immediately stopped the wheelchair and bent down to put it on Jin's foot. "So, how did Chu Ping die?" Jin did not answer Zhao Yu's question, but questioned Zhao Yu instead. It was a robbery. The criminal is named Ho Meng. Zhao Yu replied. But just as he finished, he saw that Captain Jin's shoe fell off again. Due to his negligence, the wheel of the wheelchair already rolled over the shoe. Zhao Yu immediately stopped the wheelchair again and bent down to pick up the shoe, and even patted the dirt off it and put it on Captain Jin again. He suddenly noticed that the shoe that fell off was the one on Jin's right foot. At this time, Jin no longer spoke, but looked around at the graves around him. Zhao Yu looked more carefully and was shocked to discover that Captain Jin was using the tip of his left foot to purposely take his shoe off. What the hell? Zhao Yu's eyebrows knit together. He could not understand Captain Jin's actions at all. Then, not long after, the shoe fell off once again. Zhao Yu picked up the shoe, but did not put it on Captain Jin, and instead held it in his hand, planning on putting it on later. The elderly man suddenly became agitated. He immediately yelled, "Zhao Yu, put it on for me, put it on! Hurry! You!" Zhao Yu was almost angry, but faced with an elderly man on a wheelchair, how could he get angry? He could only calm himself down and lower his head as he put the shoe on for the other. Yet, just as Zhao Yu lowered his head, Captain Jin suddenly took the bouquet of flowers in his hand and brought them down on Zhao Yu's head. Captain Jin smashed the flowers over Zhao Yu's head. The petals quickly fell onto the ground and only the stems remained. However, the old Jin was still angry and hit Zhao Yu. Zhao Yu was also getting a little angry. He held the flower stems and yelled, "Hey, are you okay? I've got 8 stitches on my head, and am getting them out in 2 days. Are you trying to remove the stitches in advance for me? You little rascal!" The old Jin scolded him angrily and let go of the flower stems before hitting the handles of the wheelchair. He shouted, "Quick, push me back, go back!" What? Zhao Yu was a little confused. Aren't you presenting the flowers to Team Leader Chu? Where are the flowers? There are no more flowers left. What can I present? Jin yelled with angry eyes. Go back, I said go back. Do you hear me? All right, as you please. Although Zhao Yu was unhappy, he turned the wheelchair to push him back. However, Zhao Yu was not one to be trifled with. He warned Jin with a black face, "If you continue taking off your shoe, I'm not gonna pick it up. You'll just be barefoot." Captain Jin was quite obedient and did not drop his shoe again. When they got back to the Buick, Liao Jingxian got out of the car immediately and opened the door. This time, the two combined their strength and carried Captain Jin into the car before placing the wheelchair properly. After closing the car door, Bureau Chief Liao heaved a long sigh of relief, as if he had gotten a heavy load off his mind. Then, he quickly waved to Zhao Yu, signaling him into the grove at the side. Wanting to know what was happening, Zhao Yu followed him. After the two went into the deserted grove, Bureau Chief Liao handed an old-fashioned notebook with a yellow plastic cover to Zhao Yu before saying, "Young man, take this. Old Jin wanted me to give it to you." Zhao Yu let out a long sigh before taking the notebook and quickly flipping through it. He saw that the thick notebook was filled with words and illustrations. Although he only took a few glances, there was an ancient feel coming from it. It was obvious that this notebook was quite old. "Bureau Chief Liao, you're confusing me. What are the two of you up to?" Zhao Yu asked with the notebook in his hand. "Young man." Bureau Chief Liao gave a smile before asking mysteriously, "When the two of you went in just now, did that old fella keep removing his shoe with his left leg?" "Huh?" Zhao Yu quickly nodded. FIDDEU up TS on NOV/E/LN.com. Do you know why? Zhao Yu shook his head. Bureau Chief Liao heaved a long sigh. Osteosarcoma. Ah. Zhao Yu was puzzled. What? What's that? Bone tumor. A terminal illness. Bureau Chief Liao said solemnly. It was already too late when old Jean was diagnosed. The doctor suggested amputation of both legs plus chemotherapy, and then he could live for another 4 months. But old Jean does not wish to suffer anymore and did not agree to the operation. Ah, so serious. Zhao Yu was dumbstruck. He did not expect that things were like this. Captain Jean had such a serious illness? No wonder he left the team so suddenly. His left leg still has some feeling. He used his left leg to take off his shoe because he wanted to keep a little bit of hope, and it's also his final bit of pleasure. Do you get it? Bureau Chief Liao's words were like thunder, making Zhao Yu numb. Old Jean said. Bureau Chief Liao pointed at the notebook. If you were the one pushing him back, then I have to give this notebook to you. If you came back alone, or he came back alone, then I'd have to cremate this book with his remains. Ah. Zhao Yu was shocked. He quickly held the notebook properly and asked, This book? Bureau Chief Liao nodded. Have you heard of the Huayun Mountain Massacre case? You were born that year, am I right? Huayun Mountain Massacre? Zhao Yu got more confused. That Huayun Mountain is in Nanjiang Province. I think I've heard of it. Keep the book safe. Bureau Chief Liao said. There's a total of 5 cases recorded in it. These 5 cases are not just national-level major cases, they are also cold cases which old Jean helped investigate that year. As the cases are bizarre and complicated, they remain unsolved to date. These cases are all things that make old Jean unable to rest in peace. Now he's giving it to you. I guess you should understand what it means now after hearing this. Oh, Zhao Yu's palms were already sweating. He asked in astonishment. Captain Jean means he wants me to solve these cases. This. Take it as an inheritance from old Jean. Bureau Chief Liao said seriously. Actually, old Jean has been looking for his successor all these years. He knows that he's getting old and cannot continue investigating anymore. He was getting older but could not find any successor, until you appeared. Me? Actually, you solving so many cases so quickly is secondary. Bureau Chief Liao said, what old Jean really sees in you is your stubbornness and sheer determination, not quitting before reaching your goal, and not giving up before getting to the truth. He saw his younger self in you. Previously, when you were transferred to the cold case department, we even had a bet on you. He said that you would definitely solve a case in the cold case department, and I lost. After you solved the Uptown Slaughter case, old Jean had already made up his mind. Bureau Chief smiled. So how about it, young man? How do you feel? Do you feel that the responsibility is too much? If you do not wish to accept, return the book to me and I'll bury it with old Jean. Whoa, I see. Zhao Yu heaved a heavy sigh. At that instant, he felt that the yellow notebook in his hand was extremely heavy. I know that the book has some transprovincial major cases, and it will be extremely difficult to investigate them. Bureau Chief Liao said. But my brother-in-law is the director of the Criminal Investigation Division in the Central Police Office. So, I may be able to help a little. If you really do investigate these cases in the future, I can help you become a criminal investigator at the central level. The police stations from all the provinces and cities will do their best to assist you. Oh. Before Zhao Yu could comment, Bureau Chief Liao shot another enticing fact at him. Also, I heard that the reward money for these 5 cases are all above 500,000 RMB. As for the other types of rewards, I guess I don't have to say it out loud. They are national, top-level, major cases, after all. If they are solved, kikik. Kiki, Zhao Yu also laughed. First it was a foolish laugh, then it was a loud laugh, followed by a hysterical laugh. Wah ha, after enough laughing, Zhao Yu straightened his face and complained, huh. You old fellas. I have to do whatever you want me to do? You want to lead me by the nose and work me to the bone for you? Huh, let me tell you, don't even think about it. You want me to investigate cases that even the central investigators can't solve? What kind of joke is this? Do you think I'm so childish, so naive? He pointed at the notebook and said, what inheritance? I think it looks more like a will, right? Oh, I understand. Bureau Chief Liao nodded and stretched out his hand without feeling surprised, wanting to take the book back. But then Zhao Yu suddenly straightened his back and said with righteousness, I, Zhao Yu, am an outstanding detective who does not condone evil. How can I let those murderers remain at large? With this, he put the notebook into his pocket and said shamelessly with his head held up high, my mission is to uphold justice. If I don't do such a difficult task, who else can do it? Right. Boss, anyway, is your brother-in-law really that powerful? You're not kidding me, right? Central-level criminal investigator, what kind of title is that? Would it look good on my resume? Oh, could you also send the 500,000 RMB reward poster to my phone later, so that I can look at it carefully? Although Bureau Chief Liao was already mentally prepared, he was still shocked by Zhao Yu's brazen behavior. Oh, I understand. Zhao Yu finally understood, and pointed at Bureau Chief Liao. So, last time when you helped me look influential, it was at Jin's request? I thought you were nuts. Bureau Chief Liao's face went from red to green immediately as he was at a loss for words. Right. Zhao Yu looked as if he suddenly remembered something and asked, I almost forgot, I got suspended by the idiot Zhao. Boss, if I can't return to my job, then Jin's oh no, Jin's wish won't come true. You see, can you find a way for me? Maybe just a word from you, and I'll be able to go back? Humph, you are shameless. Bureau Chief Liao could not take it anymore and scolded Zhao Yu immediately. Why are you cursing at your bureau chief? Really, biting the hand that feeds you? Let me ask you, you said your bureau chief suspended you, did he give you any suspension notice? Any documents? Zhao Yu paused, running his hand over his bald head. What document? I need documents. Of course. Bureau Chief Liao yelled. Can't you see? Zhou only wants to teach you a lesson so that you won't be so reckless later on. Did you see what Jean did with the shoe? Everything has its reason. You know that he is about to die, having his shoes fall off is his only joy in life now. Are you still angry at him? Zhao Yu shook his head in confusion. Exactly. Bureau Chief Liao said, your bureau chief had already helped you many times, did you know that? If it wasn't for him trying so hard to protect you, you'd already be in jail, did you know that? Ah. Zhao Yu looked as if he had just woke up from a dream. He had no idea of the background to this story. The Ji Chunhua that you assaulted had completely latched onto you. Bureau Chief Liao said. He has quite a bit of influence, and he's hellbent making sure you get some punishment. It was Bureau Chief Zhou that made use of his own personal connections to help you. Are you still going to badmouth him? Ji Chunhua? Zhao Yu was confused. That's not right, this guy didn't report a crime and even helped Hou Meng arrange his escape. Wasn't he covering up crimes and even harboring criminals? Why wasn't he captured? You're too naive. Liao Jingxian continued, Ji Chunhua isn't someone that's easy to mess with. He hired a powerful group of lawyers and had only admitted that when Hou Meng asked him for help, he only knew he needed a place to hide. He said he didn't know about Hou Meng's crime at all. He thought he was helping Hou Meng to hide from debt collectors. Lying. Quibbling. Those hideouts were all his. Zhao Yu spoke angrily. Organizing illegal pyramid schemes, isn't this a serious crime too? But there was a scapegoat. Liao Jingxian quickly retorted. Someone confessed to the crime and said that he was helping Hou Meng as a friend and that it was unrelated to Jin Chunhua. Jin Chunhua, Zhao Yu clenched his teeth and muttered, his fist already cracking. Kiddo, no matter what you say, Zhou is a good guy. Bureau Chief Liao said. Being a bureau chief has its rules, so don't misunderstand him. Since there's no official documents, it means you weren't suspended at all, so get back to work. It's just about Ji Chunhua. He, Zhao Yu laughed coldly, then said, don't worry, Bureau Chief Liao, I'll end that fearless idiot today. Hey! Bureau Chief Liao was stunned and immediately started scolding him, kid, don't be rash. This is already a dangerous situation, you. Don't worry. Zhao Yu laughed coldly. If I can't even do something like that, how could I be a special investigator? Don't worry, Bureau Chief Liao, Ji Chunhua will quietly confess for sure. Bureau Chief Liao was not convinced at all and wanted to speak more, but Zhao Yu simply patted the yellow notebook and said, Chief Liao, don't worry, I won't take this for free. Once I deal with the few big issues at hand, I'll start working on the captain's wish. At that time, don't forget to support me. Zhao Yu waved at Liao Jingxian and turned to leave into the forest area towards the highway. As he passed the Buick, Zhao Yu knocked on the car door a few times and raised his voice. I'm leaving, Jean. You take care. Once I have time, I'll go visit you. He was not sure if it was because he did not want to see the elder's withered appearance, or if he was afraid that he would bring up some bad memories, but Zhao Yu could say goodbye to the old man in this way. Even like this, Zhao Yu could not help but be somewhere bitter. First to leave was team leader Chu Ping, and now Captain Jean had this terminal disease. Although the two did not seem to have a very strong connection to Zhao Yu, they were actually very important. Zhao Yu patted the yellow notebook in his pocket again. Suddenly, he felt as if the weight on his shoulders suddenly became heavier. Yet, the newly added weight did not hinder him at all. Because of his competitive nature, the added weight actually motivated his desire for the truth. Suddenly, he was very confident in the path he was walking. Team Leader Chu, Captain Jean, Zhao Yu will never betray your guys' expectation. I will walk this road until the very end. Zhao Yu said in his head. FIDDEU up TS on NOV/E/LN.com. Once he was out of the cemetery, Zhao Yu did not rush to call a cab, but called Zhang Yaohui first. Hey, Yao, Zhao Yu giggled. This afternoon, we have some important things to attend to. Call all the other brothers, we're commencing crazy dog mode. At the time, as he watched Zhao Yu leave, then laugh as he made a phone call, Liao Jingxiao finally returned to the Buick stoically. At this time, Captain Jing Jinbang currently had his eyes closed and was enjoying a cigarette. F***CK, Bureau Chief Liao cursed. Not even opening the window, are you crazy? Put it out! Captain Jean first threw a glance at Liao Jingxiao, then very reluctantly extinguished his cigarette, using the tip of his foot to forcefully step on the cigarette butt. What are you looking at? Bureau Chief Liao spat, then sat in the driver's seat, getting ready to leave. After inserting the key, he did not start the car. Through the car window, he watched Zhao Yu, who was still on the phone in the distance. As if remembering something funny, he busted out laughing. Ha ha ha, between the laughter, he kept slapping at the driver's wheel. In the end, even Captain Jean was affected and started cracking up alongside him, almost choking. Just like that, the two laughed for a full minute before Liao Jingshao turned and shot a thumbs up to Captain Jean in praise. Jean, truly the older the craftier, you're too much. Just a bone replacement, but you turned it into an incurable disease. Seeing you look like you were about to die, I almost laughed out loud, did you know? Did you really throw all those flowers at Zhao Yu's head? He, Captain Jean nodded joyously. There's no other way. This kid, Zhao Yu, is simply too stubborn, too hard to reason with. If you don't use some next-level tricks on him, how could we deal with him? If we can't get him back on the police force, then we will all suffer a huge loss. But, Liao Jingshao spoke, I felt like the kid didn't really have the desire to leave the force. Look at him doing such crazy things just to catch Chu Ping's murderer. If you ask me, he doesn't want to leave at all. No matter what, I truly do like this kid. Captain Jean spoke as he squinted. Since he took my notebook, then we can only watch and see if he can solve all those cases that I couldn't in my lifetime. How about it, Liao? Do you want to make a bet? Let's not talk about betting right now. Liao Jingxian was slightly worried. Judging by what he said just now, he might actually do something. That guy Ji isn't just your everyday person. Maybe this time the kid is actually going to cause an even bigger problem? Then, I'll leave it up to you. Captain Jean did not pull any punches. I finally found a successor, so you have to help me take care of him. Taking care of him is no problem, but, Liao Jingxian shook his head, I'm really curious. Zhao Yu's by himself, but he said he'd take care of Ji Chunhua today, and so confidently too. I'm just wondering, how is he going to do it? It was 4 in the afternoon at Guang Yuan tea house. Zhao Yu was sitting firmly on an old-fashioned armchair in the tea house and playing with a box of fine tea leaves. He pointed at the words on the box and read, On Shi Tiguanyin. He raised his eyes and asked Ji Chunhua, who was holding a crutch and glaring at him, Boss Ji, are these tea leaves expensive? I want to get a box for my bureau chief. Other than the service staff selling tea leaves, there were 3 or 4 fierce-looking guards beside Ji Chunhua. Each of them had murderous eyes, and looked as though they could not wait to crush Zhao Yu immediately. Zhao! Ji Chunhua banged his crutch fiercely and grit his teeth. You're really bold, I didn't go to you, but you came to me instead? Don't think you're great just because you're a police officer. Let me tell you, I can kill you easily, like killing an ant. Just you wait. Whoa, Zhao Yu continued playing with the tea leaves and said in disdain, I'm really scared. Boss Ji, how about this, I'm here with sincerity today. I think we can get along well with our similar temperaments. Let's bury the hatchet and be friends, shall we? At the most, I'll play host and treat you to a meal? Ji Chunhua was furious. He moved 2 steps toward Zhao Yu with his crutch and said fiercely, wanna be friends with me, that's easy. Let me break your leg now and then kowtow to me to admit your mistakes, then I may consider over what you've said just now. With this, all the guards present crossed their arms in front of their chest. Kikik, Zhao Yu laughed and then sighed. All right, since you put it that way, that means there's no room for discussion. All right, Zhao Yu smashed the box of tea leaves on the table and said coldly, it's wartime. After this, there was an air of coldness in the room. Ji Chunhua felt an aura of death and unconsciously took a few steps back. At the same time, the followers quickly went forward and surrounded Zhao Yu. Zhao Yu, my place is under surveillance, Ji Chunhua said, if you dare to strike, we will definitely strike back. Try firing another shot if you dare. Let's see what the consequences will be this time. Kikik, Zhao Yu stood up and laughed indifferently. Boss G, don't get so worked up. I'm here to buy tea leaves today. How much is this tea guanyin? Unexpectedly, just after Zhao Yu finished his question, Ji Chuanhua's phone rang. Ji Chuanhua's face suddenly changed color after answering. His subordinate told him that their wholesale seafood stall had been investigated by a group of police. Someone had made a report that there were prohibited products hidden in the fish. Right after this, another man who looked like a secretary rushed over and told Ji Chuanhua that the cabaret under him had been confiscated by police who suspected that there were criminals hiding in there. Soon, there were phone calls from all over, and they were all about Ji Chuanhua's businesses being investigated by the police. Sweat soon appeared on Ji Chuanhua's forehead. He looked fiercely at Zhao Yu and still refused to give in. Zhao, don't think you can scare me with these little tricks of yours. I just have to make a call and your helpers will have to back off. Get the latest CHDers on n/velbin.com. Unexpectedly, just as Ji Chuanhua finished, a big group of officers suddenly ran in from the main entrance, and the one leading was Supervisor Lu Xiaohong from the Anti-Pornography and Illegal Activities Department. Don't move! Lu Xiaohong shouted at the people present. Someone has reported that there is illegal gathering here in the tea house, and possession of prohibited goods. We're here to investigate. Everyone take out your IDs, please cooperate. Officer! Ji Chuanhua looked at Lu Xiaohong and asked with displeasure, where's the search warrant? Cut the act here. Scram if you don't have a search warrant. We're doing a routine check, not a search. Lu Xiaohong corrected him. Hurry up and cooperate. Ji Chuanhua's face was red with fury. He pointed at Zhao Yu and Lu Xiaohong. You wait, I'll make you pay for this. Cut the crap. Lu Xiaohong did not show any courtesy. Quick, take out your ID. Don't tell me you didn't bring it. Those who didn't bring will be brought back to the police station. Although Ji Chuanhua was extremely unwilling to relent, in the end he still let Lu Xiaohong and the rest of the police check everyone's ID. Oh, after searching, Lu Xiaohong nodded satisfactorily and said to his subordinates, seems like there was a mistake in the report. There's nothing wrong with these people, let's go back. With this, the group of people left in the same hurry as they came and disappeared in the blink of an eye. As if it had been discussed beforehand, after Lu Xiaohong left, Ji Chuanhua's phone began to ring again. His subordinates informed him that the police who had come to visit their businesses had all retreated. Huh! Ji Chuanhua returned to Zhao Yu in disdain and said grimly, so, this is how you protest me? Aren't you biting off more than you can chew? Is that all that you have? Zhao Yu did not speak, but unlocked his phone with a straight face and played a recording for Ji Chuanhua. The recording was a statement by Hou Meng which clearly mentioned Ji Chuanhua, stating that Ji Chuanhua helped him arrange a hiding place and also tried to help him escape. He also said that those pyramid schemes were all run by Ji Chuanhua. Boss Ji, Zhao Yu said, Hou Meng has already said that you're the one who helped him. You committed an offense by covering up for and harboring a criminal, and also misprision. Although you were not charged previously due to your specious argument, with this testimony, we will bring a formal charge against you. You better be prepared. Ji Chuanhua looked coldly at Zhao Yu, but kept rolling his eyes as if he was weighing out the effect of this testimony. After a long thought, he seemed to have made up his mind and laughed out loud at Zhao Yu. Zhao, I thought you could do better than this. All right, let me tell you, I have lots of money and many lawyers, let's see how you're gonna stop me with just this testimony. I'm even beginning to suspect that the police is not gonna press charges against me at all, that's simply wasting taxpayers' money. Huh. Zhao, I know why you came to look for me. Let me tell you, let me break your leg too, if not, I'll definitely fight with you until you are dismissed and go to jail. Kikik, Zhao Yu laughed again after seeing Ji Chunhua not buy his story. He played with the box of tea leaves and stared evilly at Ji Chunhua. All right, Boss Ji, you're forcing me to use my trap card. Actually, you're still unaware of what kind of trouble you've gotten yourself into. Then, something that caught everyone off guard and was puzzling happened. Zhao Yu turned both his hands up and down as he chanted, "Abracadabra, come show us your spirit, Lord. I'm putting a curse on Ji Chunhua, let him listen to me." Abracadabra, Zhao Yu squinted his eyes as if he was possessed and waved his arms in the air while pointing at Ji Chunhua. After acting crazy for a whole 2 minutes, he finally opened his eyes and made a hand gesture to indicate he was done. Waha, Zhao Yu laughed contentedly. Boss Ji, the great deity has shown its presence, your soul has already been captured by me. You better be more sensible and stop provoking me. If not, the consequences will be dire. Waha, with this, Zhao Yu took the box of tea leaves and strutted his way out. When he was acting possessed just now, the whole tea house had quietened down. Everyone, including Ji Chunhua, had all been stunned looking at him. It was only after Zhao Yu disappeared that the people recovered from the mess. Damn! One guard exclaimed, "Boss, is that officer a lunatic? Did he just come out of the asylum? Huh. He's just trying to fool and scare us." Ji Chunhua laughed coldly. "I think he got scared by me instead." No, no. Suddenly, a female service staff member thought of something and quickly said to Ji Chunhua, "B-boss, that box of Tiguanyin is more than 1,000 RMB. He didn't pay." Damn. There was a series of curses in the tea house. That night. Chunjiang Street, Dongming Canine Cuisine. Ring, ring, Ji Chunhua's phone rang, and upon picking it up, Zhao Yu's arrogant voice came through. "Oh, Boss Ji, how peaceful. Your leg is still disabled, how come you're eating out? You even invited some people for food, and quite a few too?" Zhao. Ji Chunhua realized it was Zhao Yu and was immediately enraged as he yelled, "You stole my tea leaves. Watch how I'll take care of you." "Aw, weren't the tea leaves a gift from you?" "My fault, sorry." "Right, don't look at me like that, let me look at you first." Zhao Yu retorted mischievously. "You guys are drinking Maotai and smoking Chunhua, quite sophisticated, huh? 5 guys and a girl. Looking at their clothing, I'm guessing they're all VIPs? What? Spending so much money on a party, surely you don't have any good intentions. You?" What Zhao Yu had described was exactly what Ji Chunhua was staring at now. Ji Chunhua could not help but be a little stunned. Is this kid be spying on me? He wondered. He raised his head to look at the ceiling of the private room. Were there any surveillance cameras? From the phone came Zhao Yu's voice again. "Hey, don't look around, there's no camera in the private room, it's on the people, he. After Zhao Yu spoke, Ji Chunhua's heart raced as he immediately scanned the VIPs that he had invited. All these people were personnel that were important members of Qingshan Public Security System. Ji Chunhua had invited them out for food to ask them to put pressure on the police force in order to make them fire Zhao Yu. Just as Ji Chunhua quickly scanned the crowd, Zhao Yu immediately spoke, almost as if he was narrating what was happening. "That melon-faced guy with the checkered shirt, isn't he a judge?" "Huh? That woman with the white-framed glasses looks familiar. Is she from the public prosecutor's office?" "Oh, that bookish guy without a mustache, he's a lawyer, right?" Zhao Yu's voice followed Ji Chunhua's gaze, making him break out into a wave of cold sweat. "What, do you guys suspect," Zhao Yu laughed through the phone, "that there are spies amongst you?" "Ha ha ha, congratulations, you're right. There are people carrying pinhole cameras." Try and find it, why don't you? Even though Ji Chunhua did not quite believe it, he still very carefully surveyed those around him. Oh. You actually believed it? Are you stupid? Zhao Yu teased him relentlessly. You. Ji Chunhua could no longer sit still. He immediately stood up and exited the private room. But just as he left, Zhao Yu continued speaking. Oh. What? You came out? Are you going to discuss something with your idiot underlings? Do you see the problem? Oh, running to the bathroom? What? You wanna run? I'll tell you now, I see everything clearly. Do you want me to stream it online? Oh. Why were you taking your clothes off? Oh, do you think that the camera is on your body? Oh, you're naked too. Boss G, you're quite chubby, but your skin's quite pale. There's even a birthmark beside your belly button. Ji Chunhua was going nuts. It was like Zhao Yu was standing beside him, describing his every movement without mistake. But he had already locked himself in the bathroom. There was no way there was a camera in there, right? Suddenly, Ji Chunhua thought of a possibility. He immediately hung up the phone and stuffed it in his bag. Without Zhao Yu's voice, he finally felt momentary peace and immediately put his clothes back on and left the bathroom. But as soon as he left the bathroom, he saw a cleaning lady mopping the floor. What the F***ck, this is the men's room. Ji Chunhua yelled in annoyance before leaving the bathroom. But just as he left, his phone rang again. Ji Chunhua looked and saw that it was the same damn number. Once he picked up, Zhao Yu's annoying voice came through again. Hey, why were you getting angry at a cleaning lady? Even if she saw your tiny D***ck, you didn't lose much. F***cku. Ji Chunhua's temper flared to the max as he hung up. In order to restore the peace, he even turned off his phone. But just as he was returning to the table, the confusion in his heart became even more severe. No way. The phone had been in his pocket, how could Zhao Yu see what he was doing? It's almost like he's walking beside me, he thought. Once he returned to the private room, Ji Chunhua still could not calm down. Even when he was talking to the VIPs, he still felt pressure from the situation and could not talk freely. Ji Chunhua had not even eaten for 10 minutes when he heard the phone of the lawyer sitting right beside him ring. The lawyer picked it up, but he handed his phone to Ji Chunhua. He first paused, but when he heard Zhao Yu's voice on the other end, he almost broke down. Boss G, is it okay to turn off your phone? I'll tell you a secret, you should put some water in that judge's alcohol. Their alcohol tolerance is awful. Ah! Ji Chunhua yelled in anger, and nearly smashed the lawyer's phone. He really could not keep eating anymore. He persisted for 10 more minutes, then immediately made an excuse and went home. But even inside the car, the driver's phone rang, and Zhao Yu's ghost-like voice said, "Oh, Boss G, how come you're not eating anymore? Hey, your car's pretty nice. It's a Volvo, right? Pretty modest, even manual transmission, pretty high class, but the Lucky Charms hanging off the front of your car are pretty old." No, impossible. Ji Chunhua held the driver's phone. His body trembled endlessly. He really could not understand just how Zhao Yu was doing this. This sort of omnipotent surveillance was simply too terrifying. It was like he was stripped naked and exposed in front of everybody. Read lat.stchers on n/v/l/b.i.cm. Oi! Don't look at the driver, Zhao Yu's ghostly voice continued. Your driver's not the spy. The driver's collar really doesn't have a camera. The more Zhao Yu spoke, the more Ji Chunhua started to suspect the driver. He immediately peeked at the driver's collar. Coincidentally, the driver's collar had a black button. To get a clearer view, Ji Chunhua even reached his hand to grab at it. The driver was startled and swerved in a huge S shape, nearly getting in a car crash. 10 minutes later, the car safely arrived at Ji Chunhua's mansion, despite the scare. Ji Chunhua threw the driver's phone and ran into his house. Just as he entered, his wife quickly rushed over with a face mask on and handed the phone to Ji Chunhua. When Ji Chunhua put the phone to his ear, he nearly had a heart attack from fear. "Boss Ji," Zhao Yu's ghostly hounding came from the phone, "your wife's quite pretty, even with a face mask on. She doesn't seem like she's wearing any underwear. Later, why don't you two have some fun in bed, and I can narrate that for you guys, hee. Ah. Ah. Ji Chunhua was truly enraged. He snatched his wife's phone and threw it on the ground fiercely. The screen cracked open and the battery flew far away. His wife was stunned and immediately asked what happened. At this time, her daughter heard the commotion and ran to the living room from her bedroom. But before Ji Chunhua could even speak, his daughter's phone rang. At that time, Ji Chunhua, who was already crippled to begin with, felt his legs give out from the intense fear and collapsed on the floor. It was early in the morning inside the bureau chief's office at Rongyong branch. Bureau Chief Zhou was sitting upright at his desk and looking at Zhao Yu with disgust, not knowing what this little ruffian was up to again. Zhao Yu quickly placed a huge purple clay teacup in front of the bureau chief respectfully and said with a sinister smile, "Ha, ha, ha. Bureau Chief Zhou, this teacup is made from a Grand Master, you can't get it on the market. I had someone pull some strings for me, and it was through tremendous effort and at a high price that I got it. Since I broke your cup, this is for you. It would a great enjoyment drinking tea with this." Hee. After putting down the cup, Zhao Yu saw that the 88 renminbi price tag on the cup had not been torn off completely, and he quickly scratched it off. "Zhao Yu," Bureau Chief Zhou looked helplessly at the extremely brazen Zhao Yu and did not know how to deal with him. "Oh, there's more," Zhao Yu quickly presented the tea leaves he took from Ji Chunhua with both his hands. "Anqi Tea Guanyin. 50 grams costs 10,000 RMB. It's top grade. Please give it a try, heh. "Quit it," Bureau Chief Zhou quickly waved his hands. His forehead was covered in lines. "What do I want your tea leaves for? You better cut the crap. Oh, now you know how to say compliment me, but what about before? What happened to your bull-like temper from a few days ago?" "Come on," Zhao Yu hurriedly explained, "don't you know that I was close with Team Leader Chu? I'm upset over Team Leader Chu's case. I only wanted to bring her murderer to justice. I'm sure, Bureau Chief Zhou, you can understand my eagerness, right?" "Huh, understand? If I didn't understand, you would have already been." I know. Zhao Yu continued, all smiles. "Bureau Chief Liao Jingxian has told me everything. I treated you poorly. Bureau Chief Liao's respectful teaching has made me come to my senses and has enlightened me." "Quit it!" Bureau Chief Zhou waved angrily and corrected him, "That's called inculcating, you make it sound so nice. You're trying to say that you have good personal relationship with Bureau Chief Liao, and you're using him to put pressure on me?" Ha, of course not," Zhao Yu said quickly. "I, Zhao Yu, am one who admits my mistakes and am willing to change. I am full of righteousness and great morality. I will definitely remember your kindness toward me deep in my heart, and I'll repay your kindness without any hesitation in future, even if I have to risk my life. Discover new Tories at nv/lbin.c/o. All right, I give it to you." Bureau Chief Zhou touched the teacup. "Your face is really as thick as the wall." Ha, Zhao Yu quickly held his fists together. You flattered me. Bureau Chief Zhou, now that Ji Chenhua has withdrawn his complaint against me, do you think I can come back to work? That great Mianling case is still waiting for me to solve it. Kiki, you rascal. Bureau Chief Zhou pointed at Zhao Yu. Why do you always sound so righteous when you are being so shameless? At that moment, Bureau Chief Zhou finally smiled, and it seemed that Zhao Yu's reinstatement was just a matter of time. However, just as Bureau Chief Zhou was touching the cup and about to say something, there was a knock at the door. Come in. Bureau Chief Zhou's serious expression immediately resurfaced. Supervisor Lin Yuqing pushed the door open and walked in. Bureau Chief Zhou, the new team leader of the Key Case Investigation Unit, is here. They're outside. Supervisor Lin signaled. Oh, already here. Quick, come in, come in. Bureau Chief Zhou quickly stood up from his chair to welcome them. Zhao Yu, who was sitting opposite him, felt perplexed. What's this? He wondered. New team leader? Who? Just when Zhao Yu was feeling a little surprised, a valiant and heroic-looking female police officer in uniform suddenly walked in the door. The moment this female police officer walked in, she seemed to bring in an air of freshness, making everyone feel refreshed. Zhao Yu saw that this female officer was 5'6". Although she was wearing a police hat, he could still see that she had an ear-covering mushroom hairstyle. Oh my god! My holy sh*t, he said in his head. Zhao Yu could not help but open his mouth, and his jaw almost dropped to the floor. The new team leader was none other than that Miao Renfeng, Miaoing. Meow, 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 meow. Zhao Yu was totally shocked and almost meowed like a cat. Miaoing also did not expect her archenemy Zhao Yu to appear in the bureau chief's office. Feeling unlucky, she thought to herself, what bad luck, why do I have to bump into this B***** the moment I report to work? The road is indeed narrow for enemies. However, since the bureau chief was present, out of courtesy, Miaoing quickly walked in front of Bureau Chief Zhou and saluted him. Miao Xiaoying is here to report. Oh, welcome, welcome. Bureau Chief Zhou quickly returned her salute and said, Comrade Miao Xiaoying, you've come at the right time. We at Rongyang branch are in need of more manpower, it's really great to have you here. As the bureau chief was talking, he suddenly realized that Miaoing kept looking at Zhao Yu, and Zhao Yu also kept looking at Miaoing. At that instant, the atmosphere in the office instantly changed into a desolate awkwardness. Zhao Yu. Hey, Bureau Chief Zhou saw Zhao Yu sitting firmly on the chair, and quickly gave him a stare, pointing at Miaoing. This is Comrade Miao Xiaoying, who has just been transferred over from Ruyang branch. She's here to take over as Team B's team leader. You have to work well together in future. Oh. Zhao Yu finally stood up and extended his hand. Nice to meet you. This is Zhao Yu, Team A's agent. Bureau Chief Zhou introduced. Although Miaoing felt displeased, she lightly shook Zhao Yu's hand out of courtesy. Kiki, Comrade Miao Xiaoying, Bureau Chief Zhou nodded, I've heard good things from Bureau Chief Liang. You're being assigned this role at such a critical moment, but don't worry, I'll get the whole police force to support you. Thank you, Bureau Chief Zhou. Miaoing showed her gratitude. Zhao Yu, I'll give Bureau Chief Luan a call now. Bureau Chief Zhou instructed Zhao Yu, quickly take Comrade Miao Xiaoying to see the Bureau Chief. He turned to Miaoing and said, Bureau Chief Liao will introduce you to the Key Case Investigation Unit members. Hope you'll find your way in this new organization quickly. Don't worry, sir. Miaoing saluted again. Her sharp action made her look even more gallant. Zhao Yu was shocked by Miaoying's sudden arrival and kept staring at her restlessly. However, he still could not put his mind at ease before leaving. He turned and glanced at Bureau Chief Liao as if saying, "What about my reinstatement?" Bureau Chief Zhou quickly raised the back of his hand and waved at Zhao Yu like he was swatting houseflies, meaning, "Why aren't you getting back to work? What are you waiting for?" Zhao Yu understood and happily led meowing away. After the two left, Bureau Chief Zhou quickly held the purple clay teacup and looked at it carefully. He wondered, Zhao Yu, this little rascal really knows how to cater to my pleasure. How did he know I like tea sets? Unexpectedly, when Bureau Chief Zhou flipped the cup over, he saw that the price tag was still stuck to the bottom. The words 88 renminbi were on it. "Ah, Zhao Yu, you liar," the bureau chief started cursing in the office. When Zhao Yu decided to have a battle of wits against Ji Chunhua the day before, he had already decided to use the items from the miracle system. But in order to use the items most efficiently, he had to ask for help from his friends on the police force, enacting a complete and well-thought-out plan to finally defeat Ji Chunhua. Zhang Yaohui and others already had a bad history with Ji Chunhua. Faced with Zhao Yu's request for help, they obviously would not refuse. The crazy dog movement that Zhao Yu, Zhang Yaohui, and a few others organized was basically an in-depth harassment plan. Zhang Yaohui and others first figured out what companies were under Ji Chunhua, then once the movement started, they split up to commence harassing him. Using excuses like they were looking for criminals, or that the place was reported, etc., they thoroughly tortured Ji Chunhua's shops. Zhao Yu knew that Ji Chunhua was very powerful and was not just a regular street boss. These sorts of petty annoyances would not affect him much, but these interferences and harassments were needed as a precursor. Later on, Lu Zhaohong and the others searched the tea house. The terrifying threats over the phone were not only to shake up Ji Chunhua, but to also let him know that Zhao Yu had the power to fight him, forcing him to be on his guard. Once he had done all that, Zhao Yu finally used his killer technique, the incredible invisible surveillance camera that the system had rewarded him with. While he was acting, he used the chance to put the invisible camera right on Ji Chunhua's eye, so that whatever Ji Chunhua saw, Zhao Yu saw. This led up to the situation where Ji Chunhua nearly had a mental breakdown. Up.to.dfrm no/v/e/lb/i/n.co/m. Ultimately, Zhao Yu used Ji Chunhua's daughter's phone to warn him, saying that Ji Chunhua was free to do as he pleased, but if he dared to oppose Zhao Yu, he would have no more privacy after this. Even though Zhao Yu did not contact him again, Ji Chunhua was truly intimidated. He could not understand just how Zhao Yu saw his every move. He did not even dare to go to the bathroom, let alone spend time with his wife. This feeling was truly terrifying. Just like that, in the morning of the next day, Ji Chunhua immediately did two things. First, he withdrew the complaint he submitted about Zhao Yu, then, he immediately bought plane tickets and took his entire family on vacation. Perhaps he thought that if he flew far away, he could hide from Zhao Yu's peeping. Once Ji Chunhua's complaint was withdrawn, Zhao Yu had nothing else to worry about. All he had to do was go talk with Bureau Chief Zhou, and his plan to return to his work would be complete. Since Zhao Yu had successfully dealt with Ji Chunhua, added with the important yellow notebook from Jean, the Xinli hexagram had clearly done its job. In the end, Zhao Yu also obtained a high completion rate of 91%, obtaining something called the power jamming device. The introduction said the power jamming device could jam power sources in a 20-meter range and lasted for 1 minute. Zhao Yu felt like this was something that could cause a power outage. In an emergency, it could be used to cut off electricity sources near him. Even though the prize was not bad, compared to the amazing lie detector or surveillance camera, this paled in comparison. Especially the invisible surveillance camera, which even had a duration of 24 hours. Within those 24 hours, the target of his surveillance could never escape from his gaze. If he could get more of those, how great would that be? Just as Zhao Yu was bringing Miaoying to find Bureau Chief Luan Xiaoxiao, he could not help but think about putting an invisible surveillance camera on Miaoying. Where did she live? Does she have a lover? When does she eat? When does she shower? That morning, Zhao Yu got the Kanjin hexagram. The Jin hexagram obviously represented the chance for him to return to his original job, and now, Zhao Yu was indeed sipping on his 88 yuan teacup he just bought from the convenience store, his hope already coming true. But he had also gotten the Kin hexagram, which was placed before Jin, signaling the possibility of him deepening his relationship with women that day. But he never would have imagined that this woman would be Miaoying. He truly never would have imagined a day where Miaoying would come to the Rongyang branch office for her job, especially as his colleague, let alone as boss. At this moment, even though Miaoying was standing right beside him, he felt like he was dreaming. Everything seemed unreal. Everything happened too fast. As they were walking, Miaoying was silent. From her rushed footsteps, one could tell she was trying her best to avoid Zhao Yu like the plague, not wanting to speak with him more than she had to. But Zhao Yu was not someone who was self-conscious. After spacing out for almost a minute, he finally came to his senses and asked, "Hey, Miao Renfeng, are you crazy? Ruyang and Rongyang are both small units. At least you were an investigation team captain in Ruyang. Why did you decide to come here, and as a team leader too? What were you thinking? Or are you here to make trouble?" Hearing Zhao Yu's words, Miaoying wanted to block her own ears. From her disdainful look, it was easy to tell that she was cursing Zhao Yu in her heart, "You freeloader, worthless, spineless idiot." Oh, but Zhao Yu's shamelessness was legendary. He gasped, and as if realizing something, said, "Oh, no way? Could it be, you came here for me?" "You couldn't," Zhao Yu originally wanted to mention when they kissed, but Miaoying suddenly stopped her footsteps, her eyes filled with murderous intent. It seemed that she did not care at all. It was the first day at her new unit, but she was ready to fight Zhao Yu to the death. At the time, Hu Bin appeared from the hallway. Seeing Zhao Yu, he immediately waved. "Oh. You're back, haha, really?" He had just gotten to the word "really" when he suddenly saw Miaoying standing beside Zhao Yu, and a murderous Miaoying at that. Remembering the war from the police training, Hu Bin was still afraid. When he saw Miaoying appear, he immediately nodded at Zhao Yu nervously. "Ah, I still have something to do, I'll talk to you later." Without waiting for Zhao Yu's reply, he immediately turned and left. Yet, as he turned he immediately ran into a female colleague going upstairs, causing the other's phone to fall. "Hey! Pay more attention, you." Sorry. Hearing the complaints from the officer and Hu Bin's apology behind him, Zhao Yu immediately gestured at Miaoying, and the two left the area then continued forward. Bureau Chief Luan had gotten the information long ago, and was already waiting in the hallway. Seeing Miaoying approaching, she immediately rushed forward, welcoming the new team leader. After some idle chatter, Bureau Chief Luan brought Miaoying to the key case investigation unit to introduce to everyone. At the time, the investigators of the two teams were sitting in Team A's office, discussing the Mianling case. The director of the key case investigation unit was obviously still Captain Liu Chanhu. Ever since Chu Ping's incident, all work regarding the Mianling case fell to Team A's leader, Mao Wei. When Bureau Chief Luan brought Miaoying into the office, Mao Wei was at the whiteboard describing his ideas on how to solve the case. When they saw Bureau Chief Luan bring in such a handsome female police officer, everyone was a little shocked. Bureau Chief Luan did not waste any time and immediately introduced Miao Xiaoying as the new Team B leader. As soon as he heard this, Lan Bo, who was sitting on the table in the distance, suddenly swayed and fell off, bringing him and the table crashing to the floor. If team leader Chu's departure was sudden, then Miao Ying's arrival was even more unexpected. Actually, in a place like the Key Case Investigation Unit, where news traveled fast, people would usually hear something whenever there was going to be some major personnel changes. However, there had been no sign of Miao Ying's arrival. Not only did the normal agents not know about it, but even Mao Wei and Liu Changhu were completely unaware. Besides them, even Bureau Chief Luan Xiaoxiao, who led Miaoying in and introduced her, had also been unprepared. It was only when Bureau Chief Zhou called her Shorty before that she got to know the news. Prior to that, she had no idea that there would be someone taking over as Team B's leader so soon. Because of this, Miao Ying's sudden arrival caused the atmosphere to be a little awkward. For the past few days, the agents had guessed who could be the next team leader of Team B. Some felt that in terms of seniority, Peng Xian could be transferred over, or it could be one of the few senior agents in Team B getting promoted. However, no one had thought that the higher-ups would transfer a newbie from the faraway Ryong branch to become the team leader. Also, when everyone heard that Miaoying was previously a criminal investigation team captain, they became even more puzzled and wary. Although there was some awkward silence, the normal proceedings still had to be done. After Bureau Chief Luan's introduction, Miaoying also briefly introduced herself and said that she would work hard with everyone and hoped for everyone's support, etc. After some polite and conventional verbal exchanges, the ongoing case analysis meeting on the Mianling case continued. Miaoying did not consider herself as an outsider. She pulled up a chair and sat in the middle of everyone and started to listen carefully to Mao Wei's thoughts on the investigation. Actually, there was nothing new about what Mao Wei's had to say. He simply copied everything from Chu Ping before her death, and even the information on the whiteboard had not been moved. After Zhao Yu listened carefully for a while, he realized that the clue on Qing Sanli, which he had gotten from Yang Wentao, had been forsaken. Over the last few days while Zhao Yu had not been at work, the agents investigated Qing Sanli in detail, and also found a copy of the silver mine contract that year on Yang Wentao's computer. The date on the contract proved that Qing Sanli contracted the silver mines 30 years ago. Another piece of information also showed that after Qing Sanli contracted the silver mines that year, he had dug out silver and became richer. With this, it could be deduced that Qing Sanli was already very rich before the Mianling case happened. The possibility of him being the Mianling kidnapper was very slim. After hearing this, Zhao Yu could not help but feel disappointed. If the clue on Qing Sanli did not work out, then he was only left with his last hope, which was the truth behind Chu Ping's death. Therefore, Zhao Yu decided that he still had to follow his original plan, which was to use the last lie detector on Ho Meng and get to the bottom of things. As Miaoying had just arrived and was still not familiar with the agents, she returned to Team B after the case analysis meeting for a quick introductory meeting with her team members before knocking off early. As for Zhao Yu's Team A, it was very lively. Everyone felt happy about Zhao Yu's return and kept asking him for a treat. However, Zhao Yu's mind was on investigating the case, and he used the fact that he needed to remove the stitches on his head as an excuse, saying that it was no big deal for him to treat everyone and that he would take everyone out to a good meal after he fully recovered. After knocking off, Zhao Yu was not in the mood for lunch. He asked Li Bainey to help him make an appointment at the detention center. He planned to get there immediately to interrogate Ho Meng. On the way to the detention center, he felt unsettled. Too many things had happened recently, and he felt that there always seemed to be an invisible force stopping him from investigating the case. Whenever he wanted to put in his whole heart to investigate the case, some kind of accident would happen. He really had no idea if another misfortune would happen. Also, Miao Ying's sudden arrival caught him by surprise. Although he appeared proud and annoying in front of Miaoying, he always felt a strange sense of emptiness whenever Miaoying left. Initially, he felt that he had lots of things to say to Miaoying, but after seeing her, he could not control himself and only knew how to argue with her. TSK. Zhao Yu guessed that Miaoying suddenly becoming his colleagues could have brought back his lovesickness. His mind was filled with Miao Ying's valiance and her soft red lips. TSK, since I have the chance to see Miao Renfeng every day, does that mean that I'll have more chances with her? Or do I have a higher chance of being beaten up by her? He wondered. Zhao Yu finally reached Rongyang Detention Center while letting his thoughts run wild. However, his colleagues at the detention center told him that a female police officer from Rongyang branch was already interrogating Ho Meng. Zhao Yu was surprised and quickly looked at the visitor records. Miao Xiaoying's name suddenly appeared on the paper. It's her! Are you kidding me? Isn't this too coincidental? What's going on? I'm here to interrogate Ho Meng because I have important things to ask. What about her? Why is she here to interrogate Ho Meng? Could it be, Zhao Yu was no fool and he suddenly seemed to become aware of something. This Miaoying, don't tell me, her purpose is the same as mine? She's also investigating the truth behind Chu Ping's death? Oh, Zhao Yu quickly understood that there probably was some special purpose as to why Miaoying was suddenly transferred to Rongyang Key Case Investigation Unit and even demoted to Chu Ping's position. No wonder no one knew about this beforehand. Then, since this is the case, Zhao Yu looked at his watch. It was now 12 noon. He calculated inside him, knocked off at 11:50 at the police station. Miaoying reached here at 11:55, that means she has not had lunch, and also she just started interrogating Ho Meng and will not be out so soon. Therefore, Zhao Yu pondered carefully and thought of the Kanjin hexagram today, which made him come to a plan quickly. If his plan worked, not only could he get clues from Ho Meng, he could also improve his relationship with Miaoying, and there was even the possibility of them turning from enemies to friends. Therefore, Zhao Yu first gave Pizza Hut a call and ordered 2 sets of takeout, and then sat on the long bench outside the interrogation room and waited patiently. 5 minutes later, the delivery came on time. 8 minutes later, Miaoying, who had finished interrogating Ho Meng, came out from the interrogation room and saw Zhao Yu with takeout in his hand. Miaoying naturally refused to accept. She glared at Zhao Yu and yelled, "Zhao Yu, you find this interesting? Why did you follow me? Visit N0VL/BEIN. For the best novel reading experience. Kiki." Zhao Yu was not surprised. "I knew you would say that. But if I tell you, it'll be the same situation as me bumping into Zhang from your department at Yilangdian that time. It's just a coincidence. What do you think?" Miaoying shook her head impatiently before leaving, without even saying "I can't be bothered with you." "Captain Miao." Zhao Yu was still holding the takeout and said confidently, "Oh, it should be Team Leader Miao now. Let me guess, you did not get a satisfactory answer when you interrogated Ho Meng just now, right?" After hearing that Zhao Yu had some hidden meaning in his words, Miaoying suddenly stopped walking, but did not turn her head back. "Kiki, do you remember how I interrogated Lu Pengfei?" Zhao Yu smiled. "I've prepared for a long time for today's interrogation. Perhaps I can be of some help." This time, Miaoying was obviously moved. Thinking back on Zhao Yu's amazing performance when he interrogated Lu Pengfei, she could not help but turn her head back. Zhao Yu handed her the takeout. "Team Leader Miao, quickly take a bite. After eating, our second collaboration is gonna begin." Due to her agreement with Zhao Yu, once Miaoying finished up her interrogation, Ho Meng was not directly sent back to his cell, but stayed in the interrogation room in the detention center. To show his own sincerity, Zhao Yu invited Miaoying to watch his interrogation. Miaoying also wanted to see just how good Zhao Yu was as the interrogation expert, and agreed readily. Ho Meng's face was covered with scrape wounds, looking especially awful. His leg was wrapped in thick bandages. There were clear signs of surgery where he had been shot. Miaoying had just finished her interrogation. When Ho Meng saw her, he craned his neck and spoke impatiently, "Hey, are you guys done yet? I've already said everything I know." Just what do you guys want with me? I really don't remember anything. Even if you guys don't mind this, I do. If you guys keep going like this, I won't cooperate anymore. Especially you, girly, how dare you slap me? Watch out for my reports once I get out of this business. Miao Ying had not even sat down properly. When she heard this, she immediately stood up again and turned off the security camera. In one stride, she stood in front of Ho Meng and spoke coldly. It seems like your wound opened again. Why is it bleeding again? What? Ho Meng looked down, then shook his head in confusion. What do you mean? It's not bleeding? Just as Ho Meng looked up, Miao Ying's hand was already headed toward his wound. Ah! Zhao Yu was quite sharp. He already knew what Miao Ying was trying to do and immediately rushed over from the desk to restrain her. You! Don't get too excited, you don't have to yet. Calm down, calm down. Ho Meng finally understood what was happening. If Miao Ying managed to get a hold of him, he was guaranteed to end up in the hospital again. Ho Meng's face blanched in fear as he yelled, You guys, what are you guys trying to do? Are you guys trying to coerce me into saying something by using violence? Misusing force? I want my lawyer. Kid, can you shut up? As Zhao Yu tried to block Miao Ying, he shouted at Ho Meng impatiently, Can't you see I can barely hold her back? Zhao Yu used all his strength to finally push Miao Ying to the side as he tried to placate her. Team Leader Miao. I'm trying to interrogate the criminal. Can you not add more work for me? If you open his injury again, he'll have to get surgery again. These are taxpayers' dollars. I'll try to control the situation. Go ahead and go sit down and listen, okay? But right after Zhao Yu finished calming down Miao Ying, Ho Meng fearlessly aimed more insults at Zhao Yu instead. Kid, I know you. You aren't some good kid either. I've seen it all. You were the one that shot my leg. I couldn't resist, but you shot me purposely. It was on purpose. I'm telling you, once we're in the court, I'm going to report this word by word. F** King Holy sh** T. When Zhao Yu heard him, his temper immediately flared up. He raised his leg and aimed a kick straight at Ho Meng's thigh. Thankfully Miao Ying had fast reflexes and quickly pulled him back. The tip of Zhao Yu's feet brushed lightly against Ho Meng's bandages. This scared Ho Meng terribly. Sweat fell from his head like rain. He looked fearfully at the man and woman in front of him. These two looked like quite the gentleman and lady together, yet they were unexpectedly fierce. Sorry. Zhao Yu realized his mistake and immediately patted down his police uniform. He said calmly, That was unprofessional of me. He. Team Leader Miao, let's start quickly. Cough. With Zhao Yu's awkward coughing, the two finally returned to their seats across Ho Meng. Zhao Yu eased in for a bit, but immediately entered the main topic, Listen to me. The two of us aren't actually responsible for this case. Today we're here not to force a confession from you, but to find the truth. If you really aren't the murderer, then we will uncover the truth and restore your innocence. So, from some angle, we're actually here to help you. Zhao Yu's words came straight like a bullet, confusing Ho Meng mildly. He considered it for a while before asking in confusion, Officer, I don't even know if I killed her or not. How would you know? B****. Zhao Yu could lie with a straight face and spoke without a pause, I'm a professional hypnotist. In a bit, as long as you answer my questions and follow my instructions, I can understand what happened that day. When Zhao Yu finished talking, Miao Ying almost staggered in her seat. She rolled her eyes at him, clearly judging him. How could he just lie without blinking like that? Hypnotist? Ho Meng looked both shocked and suspicious, and slightly worried. Kid, you don't believe me? He, Zhao Yu simply smiled sneakily. Could it be that you forgot how I caught you? Ah. When he heard Zhao Yu, Ho Meng immediately shivered as he remembered. Right, when he was captured, he clearly saw a bicycle coming toward him at high speed, yet there was no one riding it. He thought the bicycle was possessed. Could it be? Yes. Exactly. Zhao Yu spoke as if he already knew what the other was thinking. That day you were hypnotized by me. You saw the bike, but didn't see me at all. How about it, now that you know just how amazing I am, right? Then, Ho Meng's shock and suspicion faded, but the worry remained. He was worried that he really did kill someone. If he really did, he would die for it. Don't worry, Zhao Yu seemed to have guessed his thoughts and smiled again. I'm different from other hypnotists. The method I use is a form of conscious hypnosis. In a bit, your thoughts will be the same, but when I question you, just answer yes or no. Even if you lie, or make a mistake, it's not a problem. Ah. What? Ho Meng was completely dumbfounded. Miaoying was familiar with Zhao Yu's words and simply sat there with her arms crossed, watching the show with interest. Here, let's practice. Zhao Yu asked, are you a male? Ah. Ho Meng was not sure how to react. That's wrong. Zhou Yu prodded. Answer quickly. Yes. Ho Meng finally obeyed. Are you a woman? No. Zhao Yu asked a few simple questions, and seeing that the other was getting more comfortable, he finally used his final lie detector. Within that moment, Zhao Yu felt a pang of regret. He had wanted to save this last one for the Mianling case, but now he had to use it ahead of time. Ho Meng, did you kill team leader Chu Ping? Once he turned on the lie detector, Zhao Yu went in for the kill. No. Ho Meng immediately gave the answer, almost instinctively. But Zhao Yu's shock, the light that lit up in his mind was green. Ah. TSK, Zhao Yu could not help but be stunned. Could it be, team leader Chu Ping's murderer really was not this guy? If it's not you, then who could it be? Zhao Yu blurted out before he could stop himself. When they heard him, both Ho Meng and Miaoying were shocked. Officer, how do I answer yes or no to this? Ho Meng asked. He also gave out an answer very cooperatively, I don't know. N/W novel chapters are published on no/vel/bin.co/m. Zhao Yu waited for a few seconds, but there was no response. It seemed like this question was something that the lie detector could not clearly understand. Then, Zhao Yu immediately changed his way of thinking. Do you know team leader Chu Ping's murderer? No. The light was green once again. Truth. No way. Zhao Yu was temporarily dumbfounded. Apparently, Ho Meng did not kill Chu Ping, and was not even an accomplice to her murder. He did not even know the culprit? Zhao Yu's mind spun. Even though the results of the lie detector shocked him, it was not beyond his expectations. Even when Zhao Yu was thinking before, he had predicted this sort of possibility. But now, there was still a key question. At this time, Zhao Yu could not suppress the excitement in his heart. He stood up in his excitement and asked Ho Meng, answer me. Is team leader Chu Ping's death related to the Mianling case? When Zhao Yu suddenly mentioned the Mianling kidnapping case, Ho Meng was totally clueless. Miaoying was also a little confused. Quick, tell me. Seeing that precious time was disappearing, Zhao Yu quickly urged him. Just say yes or no. Quick! Then, no. Ho Meng could only randomly pick one. In the end, there was no reaction from the lie detector, even after a long wait. Damn! In that instant, Zhao Yu understood that the lie detector was unable to give an answer for questions that did not concern the targeted person, which was what the word specific had meant in the introduction. Therefore, if he found a random person to question, he would not be able to obtain any important information at all. Things did not look good and Zhao Yu could not help but feel anxious. Although he had done a lot of preparation beforehand, he did not expect that the real interrogation would turn out this way. Oh, officer! Ho Meng felt anxious and doubtful seeing Zhao Yu not talking. You're done with the questions? Cut the crap! Zhao Yu slammed the table and refused to give up. Let me ask you this, are you linked to the Mianling kidnapping case? No. Ho Meng quickly answered, feeling terrified. Impossible. The green light lit up. Truth. Holy **T. There was no reaction other than the green light. Zhao Yu even started to wonder if there was something wrong with the lie detector itself. Then, was the murderer who killed Chu Ping sent by the real culprit of Mianling kidnapping case? Zhao Yu still refused to give up. Yes. But there was no reaction from the lie detector. Zhao Yu was going crazy. He quickly flipped through his notebook and looked for the questions he had prepared beforehand. Ho Meng, tell me about Chu Ping's murder. Were you framed by someone? Yes. Ho Meng finally got a good question and quickly said yes. In the end, the green light lit up. It was the truth. After you were done drinking and taking drugs that day, did you go alone to the place where Chu Ping was killed? I don't know. He quickly revised his answer seeing Zhao Yu getting impatient. Yes. Beep. The red light lit up. Lie. The red light finally appeared, which meant that Ho Meng did not arrive at the crime scene alone. Zhao Yu had wanted to ask him how he arrived at the crime scene, but this type of question would not yield any results. He could only ask, did the murderer drive you by car to the place where Chu Ping was killed? Yes. The green light lit up. Bingo! Then, were you already unconscious when Chu Ping was killed? Yes. Definitely. Ho Meng almost stood up from the interrogation chair. It was a green light again. Then, Zhao Yu asked again, was Chu Ping's real murderer a male? What? Ho Meng was puzzled and almost wanted to ask, how would I know that, but he suddenly recalled Zhao Yu's criteria, and quickly have a definite answer, yes. In the end, there was no reaction from the lie detector again. TSK. This also won't do? Although Ho Meng was unconscious and did not know anything, he had interacted with the murderer. This question should not be unrelated to him, but why was there no reaction? Just as Zhao Yu was feeling puzzled, Miaoing suddenly hit his shoulder and whispered to him. After listening, Zhao Yu was suddenly shocked and felt his spine turn cold. Ho Meng! Zhao Yu was stammering as he asked, was there more than one person who killed Chu Ping? Yes. There was still no reaction from the lie detector. Oh. Zhao Yu was aware that he could have used the words in his questions too loosely, and quickly corrected himself. Was there more than one person who conspired to kill Chu Ping? Yes. Ho Meng seemed to realize that Zhao Yu's questions were to his advantage and become more enthusiastic in answering. This time the green light finally lit up. Zhao Yu gasped and quickly asked again, then was it 2 people who conspired in killing Chu Ping? Yes. Red light. 3 people? Yes. Red light. 4 people? Yes. Red light again. 5 people. Yes. It was still a red light. Ah. Zhao Yu slumped into the chair and felt his body turn cold. He thought to himself, that's too scary. So many people conspired in Chu Ping's murder? Why? What exactly did Chu Ping do? Was it really because of the Mianling case? Ho Meng, was it more than 10 people who conspired to kill Chu Ping? Yes. Ho Meng was already used to answering this type of question. However, the time limit for the lie detector was already up, and the image of red and green lights had already disappeared from Zhao Yu's brain. No, no, no. Ah. Zhao Yu anxiously hit the table. He still had a lot of questions to ask, but the time had passed so quickly. Seeing Zhao Yu so upset, Miaoying was puzzled and could only ask, "Hey, you alright?" Zhao Yu looked up and glanced at Miaoying. In that instant, a thought flashed across his mind, and Zhao Yu was suddenly shocked. "What is it?" Miaoying asked after seeing the strange look in Zhao Yu's eyes. Zhao Yu pondered over his thoughts seriously and suddenly realized something. He quickly stood up and said, "All right, I already know the answer. Let's go." "Hey. What are you up to?" To Miaoying, the interrogation had just begun, but Zhao Yu turned and walked toward the door. Miaoying had no choice but to hurriedly pack up and follow Zhao Yu outside. "Zhao Yu, Zhao Yu." Seeing that Zhao Yu had already gone far, Miaoying quickly caught up and stopped him. "Hey, are you okay? What exactly did you find out?" Seeing Miaoying getting anxious, Zhao Yu turned and looked Miaoying over coldly. "Captain Miao. I'll be honest with you. Just like the time with Lu Pengfei, I've already gotten many important clues, and they are all shocking big clues." "But what clues?" Miaoying asked impatiently. "Was Ho Meng framed? Tell me quickly." Zhao Yu laughed coldly without saying anything and even turned to leave. "Hey, what's with you again?" Miaoying pulled him back. "Are you trying to act mysterious again? I've seen it all just now. Your questions were all random. Don't tell me you didn't manage to find out anything?" Kiki. Zhao Yu smiled and said seriously, "Captain Miao, I can tell you responsibly that my interrogation went smoothly, but I overlooked something. I made a big mistake. I should have interrogated you before interrogating Ho Meng." "What?" Miaoying was shocked and felt even more puzzled. "Zhao Yu, what do you mean?" "What do I mean?" Zhao Yu shook his head. "I sincerely wanted to help you, but I think I was over-enthusiastic. Let me put it this way. My purpose is different from yours. I'm here to interrogate Ho Meng only to find out information on the Mianling case." "But what about your purpose? I guess it's not as simple as just investigating Chu Ping's death, is it?" At that moment, Miaoying finally understood what Zhao Yu meant and stopped talking. "I don't get it. Why can't you just be upfront about it? We're both officers investigating cases, but you made yourself look like some thief. If you had told me beforehand, the results of my interrogation could have been even better." Zhao Yu stood in front of Miaoying, looking compatible with her because of his tall stature. Zhao Yu asked seriously, "Captain Miao, although we had some misunderstandings, you've worked with me before, you know my ability. Think about this carefully. I can do things easily over here at Rongyang branch. As long as you cooperate with me, you only stand to gain." Miaoying lifted her head slightly, showing her handsome face as her hair moved. "So," Zhao Yu spread out his hands and said, "since we look like the golden couple standing together, it's better to stop playing tricks. What do you think? Now, can you tell me the truth?" "Golden couple? The truth?" Miao Ying lifted her head slightly and looked at Zhao Yu with her clear bright eyes. You really want me to tell you the truth? Get the L test VLS at .o/v/e/l/by.co. Yes. Zhao Yu waved his hands, looking pleased. All right. Miao Ying lifted her right hand and pointed at Zhao Yu's bald head. She said each word with emphasis, your hairstyle is really very ugly. At that instant, the air became still, and Zhao Yu felt a few crows flying past him. More than 10 seconds later, Zhao Yu suddenly realized something after seeing Miao Ying grin, and he finally let out a smile. Outside the detention center was Miao Ying's blue phaeton. At the moment, Miao Ying was sitting in the driver's seat, with Zhao Yu in the passenger's side. To Zhao Yu's shock, Miao Ying took out her phone and started scanning Zhao Yu, as if to check if he had any bugs on him. Really? Sis? Zhao Yu looked at her in disdain. Is this necessary? We aren't secret agents, are we? This almost feels like you're a double agent. CHCK for US to rise on no/v/l/bin.c0m. Okay. Miao Ying put away her phone and asked seriously, first, how did you know that I was hiding something from you? That's too obvious, don't you think? Zhao Yu answered without a pause. Just now, during the interrogation, you were the one that reminded me that there was more than one culprit in Chu Ping's murder. When you spoke, your expression already told me you knew something. Besides, your transfer to Rongyang branch was quite sudden. Not only was it a demotion, but you went to interrogate Hong Meng by yourself on the first day. Isn't it obvious you had something on your mind? Fine. Miao Ying nodded. Zhao Yu, I don't like you as a person, but I cannot deny your abilities. Ah. Unexpectedly, Miao Ying's words prodded something inside Zhao Yu, and Zhao Yu remembered an old memory. Some time ago, hadn't team leader Chu Ping said something similar? Okay. Miao Ying's expression suddenly hardened. She said seriously, Zhao Yu, I hope I didn't trust the wrong person. I can tell you my secret, but remember this. The moment I tell you, you are stuck with me. If we're unlucky, we can both end up like team leader Chu Ping. Ah. What? Really? Zhao Yu was shocked. He thought for a moment before realizing something and shook his head. Then, tell me later. Let me consider this for a bit. I already have enough on my hands right now. I still want that 10 million yuan prize. You, don't, ah. Miao Ying snatched Zhao Yu's collar and pulled him close to her face, smiling savagely. It's too late. I'm telling you now. I accepted a secret mission from the higher-ups to investigate the truth behind Chu Ping's murder. Also, Mrs. Chu Ping had been working on a special case for a long while when she was here. The higher-ups suspect that Chu Ping's death was connected to this case. So, Zhao Yu, you were wrong. Miao Ying spoke harshly. Chu Ping's death has nothing to do with the Mianling case. The special case that she was investigating should be many times more dangerous than the Mianling case. No. Zhao Yu closed his eyes and waved his hand. Team leader Chu, please, no, don't joke anymore. I don't know anything. I didn't hear you. You asked for it, and now you want to run? Miao Ying clenched hard on Zhao Yu's collar, pinning his elbow with her shoulder, preventing him from moving. You're right, having someone help you is good. Especially a foul-mouthed, shameless, perverted officer like you. I didn't hear, Zhao Yu wanted to block his ears, but Miao Ying grabbed him by the ear and commanded, we have to be very, very careful while investigating. We can't use work time, nor can we let anyone else know of this. Here, I'll get you a phone later. We can't use the one the office gave us. Also, even at work, you have to be extra careful. Wait. Zhao Yu suddenly understood something. His eyes widened in shock. You mean, there's betrayal involved? No way. How did it get so intense all of a sudden? Of course! Miaoying warned him fiercely, if it was just to investigate Chu Ping's death, I could investigate it in Ryung branch office. Why would I need to be transferred here? Can't you tell? If Ho Meng was framed by someone, then Chu Ping's death is a very complicated murder. If there wasn't any inside help, how could they succeed? Ah! Zhao Yu was nearly in tears. He pulled at Miao Ying's elbow, his face full of despair. I beg you, don't say any more, okay? Truthfully, I just wanted to act cool to get a date. I never imagined that not only would I land a date, but I also brought disaster upon myself. What date? Miaoying was shocked. A date with me? Hee. Miaoying was enraged. Zhao Yu, you really are an idiot. Fine, don't play dumb with me. To catch Ho Meng and get revenge for Chu Ping, you even dared to give up your life. How are you scared now? Sis. Zhao Yu shook his head. Aren't you just afraid I'm the one you're looking for? Why are you looking for me specifically? I was just talking. Are you actually taking me seriously? As he spoke, Zhao Yu also realized that the miracle system had lied to him. He thought that by getting the kinhexagram, it meant that he would get closer to Miaoying. He never would have imagined that he would end up with such a big problem. Suddenly, he felt like he was in a huge whirlpool, unable to escape. I don't think it was all talk. I've investigated you. You seem foul, but your record is actually the cleanest one. Miaoying spoke openly. Also, when capturing Ho Meng, you were the most eager. Not only that, but you were also the most fearless. You. Zhao Yu scorned and made a decision, refusing until the very end. I don't care, it's not my business. Go find someone else. This is simply too dangerous. Just pretend I heard nothing. I'm leaving now. Okay. Miaoying was not agitated at all, but simply let go without a care. You can leave. Go wherever you want. I've already told you the secret. If you don't care, go tell someone. Let's see who dies first. You? Ah. Zhao Yu had no way out. Sis, can you not? I'm a key case investigation unit member. You talk to me like you're threatening a hostage. I thought I was shameless. Ah, today I am truly unlucky. Hee. Miaoying laughed. You mean you think I'm more shameless? Please, you were the one who looked for me first. You were the one that forced the truth out of me. I don't care. Zhao Yu put his hands on his waist stubbornly. Miaoying Feng, this mission is too dangerous. Don't I deserve a reward? HM? Or some kind of motivation? As he spoke, Zhao Yu raised his eyebrows. He squinted hard at Miaoying suggestively. Miaoying was very intelligent and had already realized what he was thinking. She simply laughed. All right, you little delinquent. Even now you can dream big? But, Miaoying thought for a bit before finally nodding, fine. I agree. If you really help me finish this mission, then, she thought a bit more before continuing, I can consider going out with you once. What do you mean? Zhao Yu straightened his back. All that risk for just a date? That's a terrible deal. How about a date for a night? Boom! One punch from Miao Ying and Zhao Yu's painful wailing came from the phaeton. To avoid suspicion, Zhao Yu and Miao Ying returned to their own unit to work in the afternoon, and the two did not meet again. When Zhao Yu stepped into the main building of the police station, he felt very different from before, and constantly felt uneasy. There's a rat in the police force? What should we do? Who is the rat? Is it one, two, or a gang? Oh my goodness! I don't think it was this complicated when I was involved in gangs. TSK, if only I had a load of lie detectors. I could test everybody one by one and nab that be asterisk starred. Zhao Yu thought. To the Rongyang Key Case Investigation Unit, Chu Ping's case had already ended. After the court decided that Ho Meng was guilty, the case could be closed. Therefore, the entire team put their focus on the Mianling case. After Mao Wei assigned the missions, Zhao Yu joined the investigation and went to visit Niu Weiguang's widow with Da Fei and the rest. Niu Weiguang's wife, Zhang Ying, was already over 50, and she had not remarried since Niu Weiguang disappeared with the children who were kidnapped. As Niu Weiguang had been suspected of being involved in the kidnapping case, Zhang Ying went through a lot, enduring rumors and accusations. On the third year after the kidnapping happened, she had no choice but to leave Mianling town with her child. Although Niu Weiguang's remains had just been found, people still suspected him of being an accomplice. However, although it had been so many years, Zhang Ying firmly believed that Niu Weiguang was innocent and that he could never be a kidnapper. That year, Niu Weiguang's child was only 2 years old, and now he was already a 28-year-old man. When Zhao Yu and company came to his house to investigate, their experience was both good and bad. On one hand, Zhang Ying was extremely cooperative with the agents' investigation. She tried her best to prove to the agents that Niu Weiguang was a kind man who looked after his family, and that he would never do such an evil thing. That year, Niu Weiguang was a driver, and Zhang Ying operated a small textile mill. They led a comfortable life, and Niu Weiguang had no reason at all to harbor evil thoughts. Zhang Ying asked the agents to find out the truth and prove their innocence. However, on the other hand, Niu Weiguang's son hated the agents to the core and showed hostility throughout. He said that the police's incompetence that caused their sufferings, having people talking behind their backs, making them unable to walk with their head up high. If they had been able to solve the case and cleared his father's name long ago, then he and his mother would not have had to go through so much. In the end, his son got so agitated that he even wanted to beat up the agents. Zhang Ying was not able to stop him, and there was even a minor clash between both parties. After the conflict subsided, Zhang Ying sent the agents down and apologized at the same time, asking the agents not to hold it against her son. She also requested the agents to let her bring Niu Weiguang's remains back soon so that he could rest in peace. However, Da Fei and company were on a mission and they still had some questions for Zhang Ying. They started to ask in detail, again, at the stairs. In the end, when Zhang Ying recalled the happy life they had had, and the pain of losing her husband, she could not control herself and cried out loud, attracting the attention of many neighbors. Seeing Da Fei and the rest talking with much effort, and Zhang Ying crying, Zhao Yu quickly left and returned to the car. He moved the seat back, placed his arms behind his head, and started thinking with his eyes closed. For the past few days, he had encountered too many adventures, and even his identity had been switched many times. First, Su Yang wanted him to be a special investigator. Then, Captain Jean gave him a book and wanted him to become a central criminal investigator to solve extreme cold cases. After that, Miao Ying suddenly appeared and wanted him to help secretly investigate the real cause of Chu Ping's death. Zhao Yu heaved a sigh and said to himself, "What's going on? Why did things become so troublesome out of the blue? What are the things that I should do? And how should I do them?" Zhao Yu slowly thought through these things again, analyzing them one by one to find a direction for himself. Firstly, regarding the matter of special investigator, he had to wait for Su Yang to contact him before he could start. Without Su Yang's instructions, he did not have to bother, so he could put this aside for now. Secondly, it was unlikely that any of the major cold cases which Captain Jean wanted him to investigate would happen soon. The night before, he had briefly looked through Jin's yellow notebook. The 5 cases recorded inside not only happened a long time ago, but were also extremely complicated. Each of them was at least 100 times more complex than the Mianling case. Cases such as the Huayun Mountain Massacre case and the Jinding City Demon case were all big murder cases where the methods used had been extremely brutal and psychotic. He felt that he was still far from being able to investigate such difficult cases. Although he had the help of the miracle system, he still needed certain power and ability, along with sufficient experience and time before he could carry out the task. He should not be impatient about this. After all, the old Jean could not solve these cases after spending his entire lifetime on them. How could he be so anxious? Therefore, this matter could also be put aside first. Lastly, as for the matter concerning him and Miaoying, it was totally different from the first 2. At the very least, there was no danger involved in the first 2. The worst would be not getting things done, and he did not have to risk his life. Frankly speaking, Zhao Yu had also suspected that there was a hidden secret behind Chu Ping's death, but he had never imagined this hidden secret to be fatal. This was the cause of Zhao Yu's agony. Miaoying's sudden arrival seemed to change Zhao Yu's work nature in the police force. Up until now, Miaoying had not told Zhao Yu what type of case Chu Ping had been investigating. Why was this case so dangerous that even she fell victim to it? Miaoying only said that the higher-ups only wanted her to find out the truth behind Chu Ping's death, and also did not tell her the nature of the case. There seemed to be something very fishy about this, and it also came too suddenly, making Zhao Yu feel shaken and clueless. Actually, Zhao Yu had not lied to Miaoying in regards to this. He had only wanted to act heroic in front of Miaoying so that Miaoying would look at him differently, allowing him to get closer to the beauty. However, he did not expect to get himself into the situation instead. Nonetheless, although Zhao Yu expressed his unwillingness, in his heart, he was not resentful of this special mission. Firstly, he had sworn in front of Chu Ping's grave that he would definitely find her real murderer. Since he knew that the murderer was someone else, he had to find out who the real killer was. Even if there was no Miaoying, he would still continue this investigation. Secondly, Zhao Yu was doing it because of Miaoying. Although the mission looked dangerous, Zhao Yu felt that it was a rare opportunity for him to get close to Miaoying. Zhao Yu was also one who liked to ask for trouble. Even though there was still a bruise from Miaoying on his face, his interest for this violent and shrewd female officer became stronger, and he was already deeply attracted to her. He thought, if I could work together with Miaoying, what's more, on a secret mission, then wouldn't it be normal to create some kind of sparks? A man would die happy for a beautiful girl. I'm taking on this secret mission. After Zhao Yu finished thinking things over, his thoughts went back to the Mianling case. Miaoying said that they could only investigate Chu Ping's death in secret, which was after work. During working hours, he still had to focus on the investigation of this major kidnapping case. Therefore, these two things did not conflict. It had already been some time since the reinvestigation of the Mianling case, however, they were still faced with difficulties after this amount of time and they had little results. Even with the miracle system, Zhao Yu also had not found any valuable clues. After thinking it over, Zhao Yu felt that he had to look into Qing Sanli again. There were two main reasons why he felt this way. As of now, Qing Sanli was the only person who could be linked to the Yinpan Mountain mine. Although it was quite unlikely that he was the murderer in the kidnapping case, he still could have had some connection with the murderer. Yinpan Mountain was some distance from Mianling. Since the murderer chose to kill and bury the bodies there, there could be a reason why he did so. They might be able to find something by investigating Ching Sanli's personal relationships. The second reason was, although Miao Ying was very certain that Chu Ping's death had nothing to do with the Mianling case, Zhao Yu was unsure of that. This was because it was when he and Chu Ping learned about Ching Sanli that Chu Ping was killed. He had the feeling all along that there was some connection between these two incidents. Discover W stories on no/e/lbin.com. What if the real murderer of Mianling case has already become someone with great authority and power? When he knew that Chu Ping was close to finding out the truth, he killed her with a borrowed knife and made Ho Meng the scapegoat, he thought. Zhao Yu let out a sigh. Many things seemed to be predestined. Zhao Yu once again put his focus on Ching Sanli. Well, that's all for this part, trekkers. See you all in the next video.